We live?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we are live. Not according to my screen. Come on, guys. Here we go. Vamos.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this fine Tuesday? The month is just flying by. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope your week got off to a good start. And you're here with us here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark, how are you this fine
I am
morning?
fantastic. Well rested, good night's sleep. Not a whole lot to watch last night, so feel terrific.
Feeling caught up, are you?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it was a busy weekend personally and, watching all the sports. So I understand if last night for a lot of us was a night to catch up. I get it. Watched a few shows with the wife that didn't get watched over the weekend.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
We did. We're finishing up a sitcom. We're almost done. Watched a couple episodes last night. Called it an early night. Pretty happy with myself.
I've actually stumbled upon a new network television show. Yes, that's right. A show which I find interesting on network television.
Huh.
Yeah. It's a novel concept. They do have things other than sports
Interesting.
on network TV. You just haven't watched it in a long time. I think I remember the name of the show, but I do like it.
Well, that's good to know. I'm not going to quiz you right now because I can tell by the look on you that you're not exactly sure you know the show, and you might want to double check yourself.
Well, it would probably be something along the lines of when we discuss movies and I go, it was that guy in that thing. It's probably how the description would begin on the show. But during the break, I'll remember bits and pieces, and I'll just keep sliding you notes. It'll be like we're in class in fourth grade.
Fantastic. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Hey, if another day came and went, how about another NFL quarterback on the move?
And on the move to a team in the AFC, David, because if we're going to trade a quarterback, why would that quarterback want to play in a conference where there's only a couple of guys that we think can get to a conference final?
I'm curious whether or not Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Matthew Stafford will be allowed to stay in the NFC. That when, I feel that the United Nations or NATO, someone's going to sit down, have a meeting, and go, you're no longer allowed to be here.
The three guys that fill in for them at the Pro Bowl are all going to have really mediocre years, David.
So, in other words, the Pro Bowl quarterbacks for the NFC, not the ones actually selected to the Pro Bowl, but the ones that will be at the Pro Bowl, will be Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, and
Jameis Winston.
Whoa, look at you. Look at you going off the board. How about that?
I mean, one quarterback got signed in the NFC yesterday.
Yes.
Jameis, back with the Saints.
Correct. Well, and Marcus Mariota with Atlanta.
That's right.
And I will say it reunites him with his old offensive coordinator with the Titans. So the one interesting part that I find about all this is we wondered during the course of the year, when would a team essentially set a new market for a starting quarterback? Because the going market right now, once you get a guy off of his rookie contract, is like Jimmy G was signed for around 25 a year. And that basically became the floor. Carr then got a touch more than 25 a year. And then we kept working our way up. Cousins and Goff got into the early 30s, along with Wentz in the high 20s, early 30s. And we kept working our way up until we got all the way to Dak at 40. And then we were wondering, hey, could a team get a guy who's somewhere between serviceable and pretty good? Could they get a guy to agree to play for like 15 a year? Could they say, listen, it could be a 2, could be a 1. Why don't we split the difference? If you're a well-paid 2, you make about 7. All right. If you're a 1, you probably should make in the 20s. How about we split the difference? We call it around 15, 17 million. What do you say? And the Falcons and the Saints, bridesmaids here in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, got a couple of NFL quarterbacks, the guys who were drafted first and second overall 7 years ago. How ironic, on the same day they sign to play in the same division against one another on the arch rival teams, but they're basically signing for, let's see, what are the terms here? Mariota, 2 for 19 for a quarterback.
Well, and it's the only way Atlanta can move on from all of the dead money that they have on the Ryan deal. I mean, they made the Carson Wentz dead money look like chump change compared to what happened with Philadelphia a year ago. And now Atlanta eating, 40 million in dead money?
It was going to be a lot more, but remember, quietly a week to 10 days ago, Matt Ryan and the Falcons reworked his contract. And it lowered his salary cap hit and dead money hit for 2022. So it ends up helping both his old team and his new team. By the way, when the Indianapolis Colts call, it's kind of like when the Rays call you up to make a deal. When the Colts call you up to make a deal, don't answer the phone. Because whether the player works out for the Colts or not is irrelevant. But when the Colts call, they want you to take on an obscenely large dead cap hit. Because the Eagles took on like 33 and change for Wentz, and just 1 year later, the Falcons are taking on 40.
Think about that. They've dished off about 30% of a salary cap in dead money on 2 trades they've acquired.
Right. They get the player, and the other team gets the dead cap hit, and you'll like it. Jameis got 2 for 28. Falcons 2 for 19 with Mariota. I don't know if there are incentives to work it up a little bit higher. You look at the 2-year bridge deal that Trubisky signed last week with Pittsburgh. I do find this very interesting. Baker's hit for this year is 18-8. I mean, think about that. The Falcons got Mariota for 2 years, what it would cost someone if they throw Cleveland a 7th-round pick to pay Baker for this year.
Seattle.
Well, believe it or not, the voice that was getting louder and louder yesterday was the one that you first opined in the morning. Detroit.
The Lions. Oh, I'm telling you. Baker to Detroit, to me, makes the most sense of anything. I don't know if Baker could ever play. I don't. But that mentality and the being kicked to the side by Cleveland, he's perfect to go to Detroit right now. I'm not joking. If he can play, he would be perfect there. If he can't play, well, it's just another Lion quarterback that didn't get it done.
And you could certainly make the case that, hey, Goff's the filler. Goff's occupying space for a couple of years till we find our next quarterback. 1 year down, 1 more to go with Goff as the filler. And so do you bring in Baker and say, listen, we know Jared's not the answer. So why don't we just take a flyer on this Baker guy and see whether or not he's the answer? Now, of course, I don't know what you do with Goff in the meantime, and you combine their 2 salaries together, it's like $52 million at the quarterback position. But it's an interesting quandary. Maybe you can keep most of Goff's money and pawn him off on someone else.
And you might be able to pawn. I mean, Seattle needs a quarterback. We're down to very few teams that are in need of a quarterback.
Right. And there's Jimmy G. Still out there, by the way.
Yes.
Huh. Who's left? Who's left? I ask. Just wondering. I mean, Carolina could look at Carson, Sam Darnold there on one side and decide, well, maybe one of these other guys. Of course, what are we going to do with this guy? We picked up his option and what have you.
I've got the out there for Jimmy G. I mean, we know the guy that loved him and didn't want to get rid of him.
No.
Reuniting, and it feels so good, David.
You beat me to it. New England?
We're running out of teams and places where Jimmy G makes sense.
Well, the place where he made the most sense just acquired Matt Ryan
Exactly.
Yesterday. Maybe it leads one to believe, is it possible that the Niners are not dangling him because they know that Trey Lance isn't ready? Is it possible? All I know is it's exciting. This is the NFL that if I was writing a novel that I would have created, the novel would have been rejected by all the publishing companies. I'd be on an obscure podcast somewhere saying, imagine an NFL that looks like this. And people would be like, well, yes, he's going to Roswell next week to look for aliens.
Well, and I mean, despite the fact that you might be going to Roswell to look for aliens.
Come on now.
We've had quarterbacks moved. I mean, think about what's happened in the last, 3 weeks now?
Mark, 8 days ago, Tom Brady unretired. It's almost a blip on the radar screen. I mean, it really is, because the retirement hadn't really taken hold yet. I mean, Tampa Bay hadn't even publicly talked about acquiring another quarterback. So it was almost like it didn't happen. Brady's retirement was the Bobby Ewing, dream year on Dallas.
When Favre first retired and unretired, how much time? What was the time?
2 months. Retired tearfully in March, and then in May called him back up and said, I've reconsidered. And the Packers said, Brett, I'm sorry, we've moved on. And then Favre showed up for minicamp, and it was awkward to say the least. But it was 2 months. It was a touch, and I mean a touch, longer than Brady's retirement. Like 20 extra days. The difference is Kyle Trask isn't Aaron Rodgers waiting in the wings for 3 years.
No, he is not, David.
But honestly, and with all the quarterback movement, Tom Brady unretired. And it's like the 6th biggest quarterback story in the last week and a half. My novel would get rejected. People would say, man, this guy's a flake.
And we still have more quarterback movement that's going to happen.
We haven't even drafted anyone yet.
Well, there's not much to draft. Now, let's be honest.
Hey. His hand is bigger than you thought. It was the big story from the Pro Day yesterday. You take that headline and do with it what you will. That's all I'm telling you.
Look at you going all Kenny Pickett on us. Look at you going to Pitt's Pro Day, for crying out loud, trying to be subtle there.
Big story. There was actually tweets about this. Kenny Pickett is using 2 gloves. I repeat, Kenny Pickett used 2 gloves.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth. that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, the Heat lost a game that they should have won last night. Haha. Kind of want to die. Horrible.
He's bitching about the Heat losing without Harden playing. And
Harden or Embiid.
I love the fact he's got the ESPN book, though. I do love
he's got
that.
a Nintendo
Wow.
64.
Little Dan Reno figure on it.
What's that Pelican thing?
I think it's
that
a golf
booze?
course that's really high end.
Okay.
I think that's the Pelican Club, which is
Is that like a
Head
like
cover?
driver cover head?
that's what it looks
there?
like.
Is Pelican Bay a Fort Myers thing? Or
The AFC does appear to be bat blank crazy loaded.
I think Juju to the Chiefs was huge.
Well, I think we find out once and for all, okay, because if Juju can't perform in that offense, then he's done.
worthless. Yeah.
I mean, he'll get work, but he shouldn't be taken seriously. He's got two guys who can both get double teams that he's on the field with.
Mm-hmm. He's gotta perform.
Yeah.
No pressure or anything, but
Well, there shouldn't be any pressure.
Shouldn't be any.
I mean, everybody else getting all the attention. They're coming after the quarterback. The tight end and the other receiver are getting double teamed. And he should dominate.
were his best numbers from his rookie year? I think so.
I don't know, but right now you should put money on the Rams,
Making the Super Bowl.
Bucks, and Packers to win the Super Bowl. You're getting all of them at better than 6-1 odds. You can hedge it if one of them gets there and still win money.
His second year, he had 111 receptions, 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns. That's good.
What year was that? 2018?
2018, yes.
That was about the last year that Ben was still a Hall of Fame quarterback, too. Maybe Ben had one more year before he started breaking down, but not really.
That was also AB's last year in Pittsburgh.
See the coincidence?
There you go. Look, man.
The other thing is, was what's-his-face still the tailback in 2018?
Bell?
Yeah.
No. That was the year that he didn't want to get franchise tagged and he just held out.
Okay.
Yeah. Ended up pretty much costing him any relevance in his career.
Well, it cost him a Hall of Fame. I mean, if he had stayed,
He was
he was
so good.
he was going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh my gosh. Because he would catch a lot of balls too.
I mean, he was Edgerrin James. is what he was doing in Pittsburgh before he decided to leave.
Yeah, and
One of the most unique running styles, wouldn't you agree, Le'Veon? I mean, seemed as if he was slow and he would go slower.
Mm-hmm.
And just when it seemed as if, hey, he really should hit the hole, he'd order another Starbucks and wait and wait and wait. I mean, he was fascinating to watch run.
but he'd power through everyone.
And then sometimes he would burst, and then it was like, I mean, honestly, I've never seen a running back. It almost seemed like he was toying with defenses.
10 seconds. He was a Spartan.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Well, we were wrong. Me more wrong than you. Phil's not playing the Masters.
He is not. Thought that was the safe haven for the comeback.
Totally. All right. If you had to guess, which, let's face it, we're guessing, do you think this is a suspension that the Masters is technically saying to Phil, listen, we're going to play nice with the PGA Tour. They suspended your ass. Okay. I know we could let you play here this week. It's not a PGA Tour event, even though it counts on PGA Tour standings and points and all that. But listen, we're gonna play along, and we'd like you to play along. Why don't you stay away this time? Or do you think this is Phil being so messed up by all this that he said, "Listen, I mentally, I'm messed up. I can't play."
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not trying to duck the question.
No, I know.
I'm not really sure because I was pretty positive that he was suspended.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind he's suspended.
But Augusta has never really recognized the PGA Tour as an entity.
No, I mean, they invite the commissioner of the PGA Tour as a courtesy. Hey, we're playing a tournament this week and you're not. So if you want, you can come on by.
And this tour that Phil was talking about still has not gone away.
No, in fact, last week, didn't they announce like 8 events?
8 or 12, 4 in the States and 8 abroad. But yeah, they announced events. I've been hearing more and more things that the money's not going away. It's more money than the tour has. But I think deep down, as much as the Masters puts its nose up at the PGA Tour, I think it would have far less to do with this
Saudi golf
Saudi
tour?
World Tour.
Yeah, whatever they're calling it.
So maybe, just maybe, they agreed with the tour and suspended it. But I just think Phil is freaking out.
So at the end of the day, you think that while he's suspended, that he could have played the Masters, but Phil decided not to.
I think Phil decided not to, and I think Phil's a mess right now. Phil's always been loved by the public. Phil's never had to take shots like this.
Well,
not since the Callaway move, and that was all stuff of rumor.
Right.
Even though it was all true.
Yeah, we think that the rumor is true. And for those that don't know, that's 2004, and Phil wins the Masters, and he's been playing this same equipment forever, and all of a sudden, late summer, right before the Ryder Cup, Phil changes to Callaway and played awful golf at the Ryder Cup. And that's when Hal teamed him and Tiger up together, and they lost head-to-head. their first two matches, and it set the tone for the U.S. losing the Ryder Cup. And basically the U.S., with very few moments, hasn't done well in it since. And the word was that Phil had gambling debts and he needed the Callaway money.
But I think Augusta may have hinted. I think they all talked. But I think Phil's a bit of a train wreck right now.
I think Augusta called him up. And I think Augusta said, listen, we don't want you bringing your baggage to our tournament. We love you. You know we love you. Okay, we need you to do this for us. And meanwhile, if I was Phil, I'd be saying, that's funny because I was hoping you would do a solid for me, because I would show up there and you would stand before the assorted media and say, just so you know, this is a 3-time champion. There's no one playing in the field this week who's won this tournament more than him. He is one of the greatest golfers of all time. He's going to say whatever he's going to say about the last 2 months, and then we're going to talk about the Masters. Okay? By the way, free food, free drink, free parking. You guys know that, right? You don't get treated better anywhere else than you do
anywhere
here,
else in the world.
Right. Just so you know. So, all right, those are the ground rules. Phil, knock yourself out. Great to see you. That's what I was counting on. I'm a Phil guy. And I don't think that the public has anything against Phil. Are there going to be 6 people?
Not at Augusta.
Anywhere. I mean, you think if he's playing the St. Jude Classic, there's going to be 6 people that heckle him?
I do.
Okay.
I do. We've become more rotten.
Well, it's tough to argue against that.
And when there's low-hanging fruit, we tend to grab it. And this is.
Does Phil not playing in the Masters tank the watchability of the
No,
Masters?
no, not at all.
No, it's the most
Not
watched
at all.
golf tournament
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
Always does double of what all the other majors do. Phil does move the needle.
That is
That Phil does move the
Yeah.
needle.
And if he was near the first page of the leaderboard heading into the weekend, yeah, the tournament would do better. I mean, the tournament, does better when Tiger's in contention and Phil and a few others, but I was disappointed. I thought it was the soft landing spot.
I did too. I was surprised, to say the very least.
Because the other thing was I thought he'd go there and he could play decently. See, the other thing that's, he's about to turn 52 here. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of good golf on that tour left. That's the other thing, the timing for Phil. Because in an ideal world, he'd be younger. He could come back on tour at some point and he could shove it up everybody's you-know-what. Quite frankly, he could win again. And he could basically look into the camera and tell everybody whatever it is he wants to tell them, or just give that grin of his that if you like him, you think is great. And if you hate him, you want to punch him in the mouth. But if Phil ever wins again, there's a very good chance it's on the Champions Tour.
Well, there's no doubt. And if there's places you think he could ever have an opportunity, it's Augusta.
Right. So now to have to wait another year. Freddie was in the final group, I think, at age 52 with Phil, ironically. So, Jack finished on the first page of the leaderboard at 58. There's been very few guys contend in this tournament in their 50s.
Well, in any tournament, for that matter. And now we wait and see if he'll defend his PGA.
Well, yeah.
Because that's next.
Well, and then you start wondering, so how long was this suspension? My goodness. I'm also a little surprised that Phil, if anybody's going to go scorched earth, it would be Phil. So there's a part of me that's, wondering why it is he hasn't let somebody know. Of course I'm suspended. Why do you think I'm sitting back here in Arizona with Amy and the kids? Most of whom are grown, by the way.
It's not football season. I've got nothing to bet on. I can only make so many March Madness bets.
Right. Although I have to admit the fact that the Wildcats are doing well, they survived in overtime against TCU. That really helps. That'll keep me engaged at least for a few more days. I don't mind missing the Florida swing. I don't like playing the Florida swing. I hardly ever play well in the Florida swing. That doesn't bother me at all. So I was surprised.
And I was bummed out. I
Yeah.
will say, I thought, to Philly's point, for you and I, the Masters is better with Phil Mickelson playing in it.
Sure. Shane Bacon came out yesterday, by the way, and said Justin Thomas is winning the Masters. All right.
Been playing really well.
Yeah, he is. Knocking on the door.
Been playing really, really well.
He's got the game. So what is that? 2 weeks from Thursday?
You've got that absolutely correct, sir.
Major League Baseball is going to start their season on the first day of the Masters. Boy, they've got the timing thing all figured out, don't they?
They are a PR juggernaut, David. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening, Florida Sports Network.
The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Just a horrifying sound.
Was John Clayton ever on the show? Yes.
You guys had John Clayton?
We have had the LeBron
We've had
James.
LeBron James on the show.
No.
Yeah, Magic Johnson. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe you.
Okay. Talk to LeBron. LeBron was on because of some promo for a game of horse that someone could play against him,
Right. And we got him.
and we got him.
We taped the interview. It was right after our show ended, and we taped it and ran it the next day.
What year? Was he on the Heat?
No, he was still on the Cavs.
Oh, so this is before he went to the Heat.
Yep.
That's right. We're talking maybe his last. He had gone to the finals already. We're talking 09, 010, something like that. It was right before he went, because he left after the 2010 season to go to the Heat. So it was in the fall, right? All-Star break, just before the All-Star break.
All-Star break.
So like January, maybe we taped it. So it was either January 09 or January 2010. We had LeBron. We've had Jim Brown on the show. Yeah, we've had Clayton.
Damn, man.
Clayton,
I love
yeah.
John Clayton.
We've had Magic, we've had Kareem, we've had LeBron.
You guys have had what the? What?
Just so you know what you're walking into.
What?
We had David Stern. We had Pat Riley.
I want to ask how, but I just,
True. Huh?
We had a producer who was able to get really good guests.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're turning it back.
No.
no,
But-
Mark.
No, I'm just
But
telling
our-
the truth.
But no, I mean,
Right.
John Cassio's
He's the man.
The best at
He's the
doing
best.
that.
He's the best guest
Booker.
that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I've been asked before. They're like, "Oh, do you book guests?" I'm like, "No, I don't know people.
It's not knowing people.
Knowing people's."
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the-
Adam, any champion of the Masters can show up with the champions dinner. You know, Jack will be there. Tiger will be there. Phil can show up to the champions dinner and leave.
And he very well could show up for the dinner and show up Tuesday night and be gone the same night.
Right.
Fly in, buzz in. It's like going to Wisconsin.
Yeah. Zip in, zip out.
Now, how often would you guys bring in guests like into the studio?
Never.
Never. Not really.
Kirwan used to come. Kirwan and Danielson used to come a lot in studio.
Seth Everett came in studio one time when he was down for spring training. Eric Casillas was
Yep.
in studio the one time he came down.
Joe, I mean, when we were on location, we've had Joe Buck,
You know,
Greg Norman,
Chris Berman,
Chris Berman,
bunch
Brett Baer, who's the Fox News guy.
bunch of golfers, obviously, with the tournaments.
I will say, the
We
first.
had Shaq.
Wow.
Yeah, we've had Shaq.
We had Shaq.
That's awesome. But the first time I came here, Greg Norman was on the show, and I was like, the golfer, Greg Norman. I was like, wow. No, it was Norman and Sampson. I was very impressed. I will say.
Well, I'm really happy that you're impressed with it.
Well, I mean,
No, it was before Holly. Eric was sleeping with another ESPN staffer at that time
whoa.
while he was still married to his first wife.
Separated, though, right? Weren't they separated? Eric and his first wife at that time? No?
Didn't think so.
No? Okay.
Klecko asked, ever close to get Brady on the show?
No.
No.
Damn.
Had Drew Brees.
Really?
Multiple times.
Barry
more than
Sanders.
once.
I mean, we had Chris Rock.
No way.
Got the pictures on the phone. We had Chris Rock and David Spade at the same time.
Puppet a movie.
Yeah, grown-ups
Grown-ups,
too.
yeah, grown-ups too, yeah. That was like 20.
One of the last movies I've seen in the theater.
Ah, damn. That was a really long time ago.
You got it.
That was 8 years ago, man.
Longer than that.
God. All right. We're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Got a good show lined up for you today, if we do say so ourselves. Have we thought about a poll question, by the way? Just wondering.
Well, not really anything that has to do with sports right now.
Oh, okay. We can go that route. I mean, that'll get 8,000 people to respond. You know, we stick to sports, we get 147.
Well, aren't we supposed to stick to sports?
Says who?
Shut up and dribble?
No, they didn't say that to us.
Oh, good.
No, we're so far off the radar. No,
No one even talks to us.
right. Certainly not in this building. Time now for
The starting five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
You know, people don't appreciate what a good line that was because they're not around here.
Mark. I don't know about you, but I'm going to start with the NFL, if that's okay. Matt Ryan traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a 3rd-round draft pick. Okay, can we get this straight again? So you're Atlanta. You're only getting a 3rd-round pick, but don't worry. Here's the good news. You're getting a $40 million cap hit.
That's it.
I mean,
Nothing says tear down quite like that trade, David.
aren't you supposed to be saying to the Colts, no, we're taking the cap hit. So you need to compensate, and you're getting the quarterback. We need to be compensated more than a third-round pick, see? I mean, you're missing this whole part of the deal.
Apparently not.
Boy, apparently it doesn't take much to get the GM job for the Atlanta Falcons, does it? What a terrible trade that is for Atlanta. Well, but that's okay. They doubled down by signing Marcus Mariota to replace Matt Ryan. I mean, he is, if we said Matt Ryan's the greatest player in Falcons history. Yes, no? I mean, Deion was only there a short time.
No.
You're handful of years, no more than that.
I think you're right.
So, Matt Ryan, 14 years.
Certainly the most accomplished Atlanta Falcon.
And I know they had great players. I mean, they had Mike Cann, they had Tommy Nobis. They had great players. I get it. Jesse Tuggle, Deion Sanders. They've had great, really good, great players. Some Hall of Famers who came through Atlanta. But right now, I mean, didn't they just trade the greatest player in franchise history?
For a third-round pick.
And don't worry, we'll take the cap hit.
40 schmil.
But don't worry, we have a replacement. His name's Marcus Mariota. He lost his job to
Ryan Tannehill.
There you go. Telling you, you and I need to start throwing our hat in the rings for these NFL general managers jobs. Apparently, they're not that hard to get.
No, they're really hard to get.
You just don't have to be very good at it?
There you go.
Okay. The Saints, meanwhile, chuckling, laughing really hard because they hate the Falcons. And they said, we'll re-sign Jameis. He looks good in all those workout videos that he's doing. 2 years, $28 million. Can we finally put to bed the whole Taysom Hill as the quarterback thing, please? Can we stop that? He's not a quarterback.
No, he's not.
Even the Saints don't think so.
Finally.
Well, that's good.
Sean Payton still does.
Yes. Well, he might want to bring him to Fox.
Dallas.
That's in a year. Sean's taking a year off. The Bills, we'll say this. Bills keep adding guys. You get the sense, Mark, they're all in Buffalo. The Bills signed running back Duke Johnson, and this is a sneaky signing. Wide receiver Jamison Crowder from the Jets. 1 year deal.
These Jet receivers, when they had no one throwing them the football for several years, can go to other places and look halfway decent.
It's funny how that works out.
Robbie Anderson?
Exactly. Jamison Crowder. The Cowboys re-signed safety Jaron Kearse. He played last year on one of those 1 year, $1 million I'll prove it deals. Yeah, he got 2 years, $10 million yesterday. Led the Cowboys in tackles, which, when you think about it, though, it's probably not a good thing your safety's leading your team in tackles, right? Over 100 tackles. But good for him. Kenny Pickett, the Pitt Pro Day yesterday. I don't want to get too personal with Kenny, but can you show me your hands? That's really what they wanted to know. Show me your hands. First thing was he was throwing and he had gloves on both hands. All right. Apparently it's a story. But then when he took the gloves off, they examined him. And they said he had nice nails, all right, and his skin was really soft.
Excellent. He's been taking those vitamins.
And
potato skins, too. Good for the nails, I'm told.
Here's what I don't get, unless he's on the Barry Bonds diet. His hand grew 1/8 of an inch. You don't think possibly it's how it was measured. But anyway, big news yesterday. His 8.5 inch hands are now 8 5/8 of an inch. It still would make him have the smallest right hand of any quarterback in the NFL. If you want to know the answer to the quarterback who has the smallest hands in the NFL, the answer is Joe Burrow. So I love the fact that these NFL scouts are making a really big deal about this. Even Ryan Leaf went on national television and said, I had some of the biggest hands in the world, and I fumbled and threw interceptions everywhere. Good for you, Ryan.
Good for you, Ryan.
Good for you.
Don't know if it was the hands.
Right, but
might have been that fairway between your ears.
Which is much wider than 8 5/8 of an inch. Phil Mickelson not going to play in the Masters for the first time since 94 is the last time Phil did not play in the Masters. This was his decision, or so he said.
Of course it was.
He didn't sign up. And as a 3-time former champion, he's in this thing for as long as he wants. NHL trading deadline came and went, and it was pretty active. The biggest name that was dealt, Marc-Andre Fleury, goalie in Chicago, sent to Minnesota, which is interesting because they supposedly have a number one goalie. I'm sure that Cam Talbot's just thrilled with this deal. But there are some, Mark, that think that the Wild acquired Fleury just to keep him away from another couple teams in the Western Conference that they're going to have to try to go through.
Hey, look at. You never know which guy gets hot in the postseason.
Right.
I'd rather have two than none.
Yep. I agree with you.
And I applaud the Wild for the move. It may have kept them away from Colorado. Sure.
Yeah.
Either way, I applaud the move.
I still think Toronto needed to somehow acquire him. But then again, Fleury controlled where it is he went. He's in Chicago.
And would you really want to go to Toronto as a goaltender?
Well,
you're going to eat it all when they choke and leave you for dead.
Well, see, my thought is exactly the opposite. If we lose, Fleury could go, oh, I've taken teams to the finals. I've won Lord Stanley's Cup. It ain't me. As you know, it's them. The Penguins added a forward, Raquel, who has 44 points in 51 games. The Rangers added 3 players, 2 forwards and a third-line D. They gave up a bunch of draft picks, none of them a first-rounder, and 1 mid-level prospect. Carolina adds Max Domi in a 3-way deal involving Florida and Columbus. Kind of the headlines of trade deadline day. The Blackhawks, no Tays, no Kane being traded. Wonder if that happens in the offseason. Boston, meanwhile, rallied in the third, tied it, beat Montreal in overtime 3-2. Wild 3-0 over Vegas. Colorado 3-2 over Edmonton in a game that had a playoff feel. And Nashville doubled up Anaheim 6-3. NBA, Heat lost in Philly 113-106.
Yeah, no Harden, no Embiid either. I mean, they didn't just lose. They lost, and Philly decided to sit out their 2 best players. It was an embarrassing loss for the Miami Heat last night.
LeBron with 38. Lakers won in Cleveland, 131-120. Bulls beat Toronto by 14. Boston beat OKC by 9. Houston, 18 better than Washington. Dallas edged Minnesota, 110-108. Portland over Detroit. Brooklyn beat Utah, 114-106. By the way, before the game, Kevin Durant made headlines just talking about he thinks Ja Morant's a Hall of Famer. He said, I think he's an amazing player. Described him as a cross between Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose in some of the things that he does. Charlotte edged New Orleans 106-103. Bunch of college basketball news, Mark, coaching news. LSU settles on Murray State head coach Matt McMahon. He chose LSU over South Carolina.
I think that's a better job.
Yeah, I mean, you could be on probation the first couple of years that you're the head coach at LSU.
And you could be in Columbia, South Carolina for a couple of years, too.
I understand, but Frank Martin made the tournament once in 10 years. Now, granted, it was a Final Four, but still, I mean, the rope is got a lot more, leeway in it in South Carolina than LSU. But, yeah, you can get players at LSU.
Yes, you can.
South Carolina ends up settling for Chattanooga's head coach, Lamont Paris. Maryland, in the worst kept secret in the world, hired Seton Hall head coach Kevin Willard, which means now the worst kept secret in the world is Shaheen Holloway, whenever St. Peter's run is done, is going to go back to his alma mater, Seton Hall, and be their head coach. By the way, Jersey City to where Seton Hall is, not even 20 minutes, maybe 12, actually. Willard got 7 years, $30 million, just so you know. I mean, Maryland pays.
Wow.
They're serious about their basketball.
Wow, that's $4+ million a year.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. LaSalle fired their head coach, Ashley Howard. I mentioned that because, remember, A week or so ago, FGCU hired Pat Chambers. He was on the LaSalle staff. So if he didn't get the FGCU job, he would be unemployed today. Women's basketball, UCF gave UConn a run. I don't know how much of it was UCF and how much of it was UConn couldn't put the ball in the ocean if they were standing knee deep in it last night. But UCF had a shot late. UConn survived by 5. Ohio State sent Kim Mulkey packing, beating LSU by 15. My 2 upset specials, Mark. Belmont lost by 3, had a 2-point lead with under 30 seconds to go, missed their free throws. And then Princeton lost at Indiana by 1, 56-55.
Sounds like if you took the points, you'd have done well.
Yes. Major League Baseball, by the way, one story of note. You remember the whole, Astros, they cheated.
Right.
But before the Astros were the scum of the earth, do you remember the Yankees and the Red Sox got in a little bit of trouble?
Cheating over in London, right? It was the series over in London that there was a lot of talk of it.
Well, that was 2019. But in 2017, remember the Red Sox had the Apple Watches?
Yes.
And the Yankees were also accused of doing something involving sign stealing. Well, the Red Sox and Yankees got a slap on the wrist, which is why people believe Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball came down really hard on the Astros. Because when Manfred slapped the Yankees and the Red Sox on the wrist, he sent out a Jane, you ignorant slut email to all 30 teams going, next team that does it, we're throwing the book out at you. And it turned out to be the Astros, and they threw the proverbial book at them. Well, a letter that Rob Manfred, basically his punishment for the Yankees and why, was never released publicly. And the plaintiffs, who are heavily involved in daily fantasy sports, filed suit saying, if the Yankees were stealing signs, then this affects players' performance both ways, and we need to see what was in that letter. And Major League Baseball and the Yankees. The letter's going to be released publicly. They've gone to court and won every step along the way. And Major League Baseball, for the last 2 years, after first losing in court in 2020, has gone out of their way to keep this letter from becoming public. Apparently, the letter will be public between now and Easter. So, if you're a conspiracy theorist, it'll be interesting because the Yankees, righteous indignation towards the Astros. Remember, they lost in Game 7 of the
Judge
LCS
doesn't,
that year.
Judge is all upset because they've got people in the broadcast booth now that are former Astros.
Well, and they just hired their utility infielder, Marvin Gonzalez, and he doesn't even know if he's going to talk to him because he was on the 2017 Astros. Yeah. So now we're going to find out to what degree the Yankees were cheating when this letter is released publicly. And that was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Pretty good show lined up for you today. Alexis Downie, we'll talk a little NHL, go through all of the trades, the relevant ones. Pat Kirwan will have 2 segments with us in the 8 o'clock hour, and Derek Schultz in the bonus hour to talk about Matt Ryan to the Colts. That's all ahead right here. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial.
and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Kleiko, I don't think LeBron's gonna do it until next year. And they don't even right, like the Lakers already played in Madison. So yeah, you are probably implying next year. I mean, that all depends on how they schedule it. He was one game off of passing Karl Malone in Cleveland, though. Think about that.
Is there a day this week that you can't take at 10 o'clock?
No, I'm wide open all week.
All week?
So Club Pro Guy has his new club.
Oh, God, he's back, huh?
It's the XE747 Punch Out, right-handed, left-handed, and the camel toe technology that you hit it off the toe. McCarran. Club Pro Guy yesterday. Parents, you can warn your kid before a big event that he's not good enough, or you can have the scoreboard tell him after. The choice is yours.
Well, LeBron's going to break the record next year.
Philly's not old enough to throw rats on the ice. That arena was closed before he was born.
Was it closed?
No, it wasn't. The Miami Arena?
Oh, when would it close? When you were 3?
It was knocked down when I was 8. Closed probably when I was a little younger.
Well, RCB, I think the Lightning acquisitions were all about putting a third line back together again. Listen,
All right, Ray Johns. I'm going to give you 2 wineries. Little off the beaten path. There you go.
Hey.
Frias is really good juice, and the Boyds are two of the coolest people you'll ever meet.
By the way, they still throw rats in the whatever the BB&T, whatever it's called.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's not the same.
not even close.
It'll never be the same.
I mean, it was unreal how many rats they threw on the ice in
Man.
'96.
I doubt it. But probably by 10. That's a scary thing. You can get 3-4 wine tastings in by noon and have a hell of a day.
What? Oh, damn it. All right, we're back in like 5 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll talk a little hockey near the bottom of the hour. Pat Kirwan to join us 1 hour from now, and we'll get a little Colts specific at the top of our bonus hour. And also, we'll talk about an anniversary today in our bonus hour. So stick around, and if you're in certain, affiliates who don't carry our 9 o'clock hour, well, there's a way to take in the show. MillerandMoulton.com is a good place to go.
Or twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. That's our Twitch channel. You can catch a show there. You can catch it, anything you missed. If you don't want to download the podcast, you can rewatch it on Twitch, which apparently people do.
I know. Just shocking to the two of us, but who are we to judge?
We're not in any position.
No.
So however
Not at
you
all.
want to consume the show,
Right.
we thank you for doing
Very
so.
much so. Without you, we don't have a career. And I mean, let's face it, how much of a career do we really have? But All right. Serious question. May I? So are the Colts now a contender? I mean, it's like ranking quarterbacks. There's the elite, we know who they are. They're Kansas City. They're Buffalo. And are we going to consider Cincinnati? I know they just went to the Super Bowl, or do they have to do it more than once, make a deep run? But, I mean, we know who the elite are in the AFC, and there's a bunch of, it's like quarterbacks. You got the elite 4, 5, 6, and then you got 6 to 8 others that are pretty good.
All right, let me just stop you right now. 4 to 5 elite, are we sure? Are we is anything beyond Kansas City, Buffalo, and I guess Cincinnati? I mean, you have to. They did go to the Super Bowl after all.
And we're not even counting the NFC. I mean, the NFC.
No. I'm just talking AFC right
Right.
now. Can we go elite beyond those 3 teams right now?
Well, I don't think so.
I don't think you can either.
I mean, because the last 2 years, the AFC Championship game has been Kansas City, Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati. So, I mean, that's and in the NFL, it's tough to go back more than a 2-year cycle here. So we've had only 3 teams in the AFC make the conference championship game in the last 2 years. And the year before that, quite frankly, was Kansas City and Tennessee. So you see a recurring theme here.
And Buffalo plays in what looks like the most winnable division.
Well, I think that's fair because you can argue that because the AFC South, obviously there's 2 teams in it that are not very good, but Indianapolis and Tennessee are much closer to one another than either New England, Miami, or the Jets are to Buffalo.
Correct. And then you look at the North. I know I'll believe Cincinnati when they do it 2 years in a row. It's hard for me to put them into the elite category.
Okay. So they just got on a run is what you're saying.
Well, but then Kansas City, look at the damn division.
I know.
So when you're trying to rank the AFC, if we did a Phil Steele preseason AFC power poll right now,
Got to rank the Chiefs one. I'm sorry. They've hosted 4 straight conference championship games. I mean, they're the king. They're Alabama of the AFC right now. They are. They took the mantle from the Patriots. They're Alabama. It doesn't mean Georgia didn't just beat Alabama and win the whole thing.
No. But we do the preseason rankings again. Alabama's probably going to be number 1.
Yeah, that's what you do.
So the Chiefs 1.
Yes.
The Bills 2.
Yes.
Kansas City 3.
Well, you said the Chiefs.
I mean, Cincinnati 3.
Now it gets fun, now it gets fun. It's like in college, once you get past Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State.
Well, let's just start with the South. Who are you going to rank first, Tennessee or Indianapolis?
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at, Mark. I mean, just how big of an acquisition is this?
What are the Colts looking for in the draft?
Receivers.
Yes.
Of which there are a plethora.
Right. Now, they don't have a ton of picks, though, especially early, because they lost their first rounder to the Eagles. They just gave up their third rounder to Atlanta.
Pick 42.
Yeah, that's it.
And pick 73 they have.
Oh, yeah, they got that from Washington in the Wentz deal.
Right.
So 42 and 73. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
I would like them. There were people who immediately thought yesterday, do the Colts go and sign Julio? Maybe try to get him on a, $6 million deal loaded with incentives, so that if last year was just an unhealthy year and whatever, but now he's back with Matty Ice and in a dome again. And, hey, you can earn your $12 million, but you're going to have to earn it. We're only going to give you 6 of it. So that'll be interesting to see whether or not they think that one of the veteran receivers out there still has some life. But that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
And fuel to the fire, because I had to pull a schedule up. And I know it's an awful thing to do to pull up schedules.
Pulling up schedules in March.
For the Colts.
Wow.
They get the AFC West. So not
ideal.
No, it's not. They get the NFC East, which is a lovely counterpart.
That is true. If you're going to counter the AFC West, the least you could do is give them the NFC East. I mean, that seems fair.
But I'm just trying to figure, okay. So back to our power poll. We've got Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati.
Oh, and I don't even know if I'd go Cincinnati 3. But you know what?
For sake of argument, just let that.
I got my Joe Burrow man crush. They're upgrading the offensive line. Don't know how much else the team really needs. Although I thought the defense did a little bit with mirrors.
So you've got Indy and Tennessee. You've got whatever else from the north that you may think.
Well, Baltimore, thank you very much.
Right.
I think the Ravens were the 1 seed when Lamar got hurt. The 1 seed in the AFC when Lamar got hurt.
Well, then you got the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Chargers.
Well, yeah. Then there's that. Never mind. Thank you very much. Are the Dolphins going to stay on the outside looking in, or are they going to make a jump and become a playoff team? And is New England going to get better, or
thank you,
was last year the peak? Yeah, I know. I know what I'm asking. I really do know what I'm asking. But
I know I can put Jacksonville. Sorry, David. I know I can start at the bottom and put Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's a good place.
Or
maybe
Houston.
The Jets.
Or the Jets.
Right. No, the bottom
I know
three.
I know the 3 on the bottom.
14, 15, 16, we got nailed.
I know the 3 on the top. I know the 2 at the top. And we're throwing 3 in reluctantly.
Yeah, it's the 10 in the middle that are really hard. Yes.
Really hard.
What I'm asking is, what does this do for Indianapolis? Let's review. 2 years ago, they won 11 games. They finished top 10 in the league in offense, defense, and special teams. They had Phillip Rivers at quarterback. They went to Buffalo and largely outplayed the Bills. Only the Bills made the big plays in the game and won by 3. Then last year, we all know what they did. Awful start, which we all saw coming because they had a brutal early season schedule, and they started 1-4. And then next thing you know, they were 9-6. They won 8 of 10. And then they threw up all over themselves. But they still have won 20 games the last 2 years. Do not have a playoff win to show for it. They're likely going to upgrade at receiver. Mark, they needed to upgrade at quarterback, receiver, and get a pass rushing end is what they needed. So far, they've upgraded at quarterback. We're all convinced they're going to upgrade at receiver between the rest of free agency and the draft.
They will probably draft an edge rusher as well. You know, Pat, we'll have him on later, but Pat says edge rushers are as deep as they've been in the draft in a long time.
Well, let's be honest here. The kid from Michigan who blew out his Achilles in the pro day over the weekend, was it Ajabu?
Ajabu.
Yeah. I mean, how far is he going to fall? I mean, what team's going to spend a first rounder on a guy who's not going to play this year? I mean, you got to look at the teams who have multiple first round picks, right? You figure you could take a guy in stash, but if not, I mean, is it possible that a guy who was going to go top 6 in the draft could fall into the second round?
I don't think so.
Remember, edge rusher, you don't know how you're coming back from an Achilles injury.
No, I know.
If he loses a little bit of explosiveness, that's a huge thing. But I just mentioned that with the Colts picking at 42. How close does Ajabu actually get to the Colts?
Yeah, I don't think that close.
Okay. Once again, back to the question. First off, with Matt Ryan, are they the favorites in the South?
That's where you have to start.
Because I say no. Sorry, the Titans have been very consistent. 6 consecutive winning seasons. We all know what we're getting from the Tennessee Titans. We do. We're getting 11 wins from the Titans. We are.
Well, let's just be really simple. Even, if Henry doesn't come back at Derrick Henry, they've got the edge at running back, they've got the better receiver, and they've got the better quarterback right now.
That's an interesting discussion in and of itself. Because, lasting memory, Tannehill did not have a good playoff game.
He didn't, but one's 147 years old.
2008 draft for Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I saw his last college game.
Yeah, I did too. I worked it, actually.
I drank at it.
Good for you. So that's just throwing that out there. I don't know if Matt Ryan and the Colts are worthy of a poll question, whether or not, are the Colts now contenders? You don't have to be amongst the elite to be a contender.
They're definitely a contender.
But I'm talking about a championship contender.
Well, they have to, first off, be the team to win their division before you can call them a contender. I know you can get there from the wild card, but can they just win their division? That's the first step.
Does this bring Indianapolis back over the line and put them in the contender category?
I think that it does, for the record. I would give it a yes.
Worthy of a poll question?
Well, that's another story. Do we have something along the lines of food or drink to get ahead of it?
I'm sure we do.
If not, we may have our first ever Colt poll question.
Miller and Moulton. We'll decide on a poll question. We'll talk a little pucks at the bottom of the hour. Thanks for waking up with us, Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf. where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
This the kid that made the shot there, number 5 for FGCU. Is he a senior?
Yeah, Tavian Dunmartin, and he's a graduate senior. He's done.
Okay.
Like, there are seniors now that still have a year of eligibility because of COVID.
Your Cordarrelle Patterson to the Bills never happened.
I know, man.
Stayed a Falcon, huh?
Ridiculous. Whatever. At least they got Duke Johnson, Canes legend.
What, are you a Bills fan now?
I love Duke Johnson, and seeing him on a contender makes me happy.
I know, but you're all Miami all the time.
I mean, who else is on from Miami? On
No. I mean, it's the Bills. That's the
Yes, because they're in our division.
That's the arch rival, isn't it?
I've just come to accept the fact that we're going to get absolutely dominated by the Bills for what seems like many years.
Do you think you'll see the Miami Dolphins in a Super Bowl in your lifetime?
Oh, God, man. How about this? What are we thinking? Who makes it to the championship game first, the Marlins or the Dolphins?
Everybody would vote the Dolphins.
Well, wanting, of course.
No.
Oh,
Everyone would vote the
odds.
Dolphins. The odds against the Marlins are staggeringly long, much longer than the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins just put back-to-back winning seasons together. The Bengals just went from 6-25-1 in a 2-year span to the Super Bowl. Okay, you can actually dream up a realistic scenario for the Dolphins. Hell, doing it in the next 2 years. For the Marlins to get to the World Series?
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to do the Colts poll question? I like that we're in the poll question mode here. So,
I mean, does Matt Ryan make the Colts a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, I like that.
And you could even jokingly then put in parenthesis, remember, the Bengals just went to the Super Bowl.
I still cannot believe that. Like, if I look back at Super Bowl highlights and see the Cincinnati Bengals participating in this game. I heard this was close.
Yeah, it's funny, I mean, here they are, mid-4th, and they were up 12.
Yeah. Mid-range. Age.
should I put yes, playoffs, but not Super Bowl and no? Or do you want to just put yes and no?
Say that again.
I've got, does Matt Ryan make the Colts a Super Bowl contender? In parentheses, remember the Bengals were just in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, playoffs, but not SB. Just because I can't get it all in there. No. Or do I just put yes or no?
Yes or no?
God, the Dolphins going to the Super Bowl would be something. Tua becomes Polynesian Drew Brees from the left side.
Here we go. She misses 2 free throws. Unbelievable. God.
Oh my goodness.
Could have put them up 4.
I'm assuming they send it to OT.
No. It ends right here.
Oh.
Yep. Cover the short corner.
Oh my God. Make them pay. Hand down, man down, or woman down. Back in 5.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Alexis Downie covers the NHL. She'll join us in less than 20 minutes. NHL trading deadline came and went. It was very active. Just about all of the contenders geared up. Some of the non-contenders, I think, should have sold off more. Like your wings there. What are they doing?
They made, one deal
What are
over
they
the
doing?
weekend?
What are they doing? Get rid of some of these guys. I mean, get a bag of hockey pucks for Mark Stahl and a 4th-round pick or something like that.
I was stunned Stahl wasn't moved.
I was a little surprised Rangers didn't require him. I thought he'd be.
That's where it looked like he was going for about 2 weeks, and it never happened.
So anyway, Alexis Downie in a little more than 15 minutes time. Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL at the top of the hour. And we will head to Indianapolis at the top of our bonus hour. Talk to Derek Schultz about the Colts acquiring Matt Ryan. And it kind of led us to where we're going with the poll question. And we all have different definitions of what is a contender. Well, let's face it, in the NFL, it's probably a little bit more loosely defined than it is in most other sports. I mean, the Bengals did, after all, just go to the Super Bowl.
Right. No one would have voted them a contender in March of 2021.
Mark, I'll go out on a limb and say nobody would have voted them a contender at the beginning of the playoffs last year. They were the 4 seed after all. Honestly, I don't think it's Cincinnati, and I don't mean the Bengals locker room, but I'm talking about those that went to the Bengals-Raiders playoff game. How many of those fans, if we asked them walking in, hey, Bengals a Super Bowl contender? Hell no, but we're hoping to beat the Raiders and enjoy some Skyline chili afterwards.
That's it. And hell, that wasn't the easiest win.
Although it was seemingly easier than the next 2.
Well, yes.
But that's a whole other story. But so along those lines, define the word however y'all want to define the word. And I just went y'all, by the way, for the first time today.
It's a good word.
Versatile?
Well, the Northeast has use guys. Use. Y'all's just, it fits. It works. You don't have to Southern it up. You don't have to go y'all.
Right. I didn't.
No, you didn't. That's what I mean.
No.
You can just, y'all can be a part of everyday conversation. It does not have to be Southern. It's a very versatile word.
It's also easy to type.
Got that going for you as well.
Thank you, Philly.
I feel, by the way, as if I'd like to say that Bobby Bowden, that if Bobby Bowden is probably the one that, maybe I worked.
Is he the reason that you say y'all?
I think so. Moving to Florida in late 99, I think there are certain people that influenced me from afar. Spurrier, Bowden being 2.
You start going fixing, we've got a problem.
I mean, I had never said dad gum before, ever. I was in my mid-30s when I moved down here. I never said dad gum before. So, I mean, between
Headgum.
the HBC and Bobby, they influenced me.
So definitions of contenders vary from person to person. I get it. But we went Matt Ryan for a poll question.
Yeah,
today.
what the hell?
I don't even know if Matt Ryan's been a poll question in Atlanta that recently.
I'd like to think one radio station had a, hey, should they trade Matt Ryan poll question, yay or
Possibly.
nay?
But does Matt Ryan make the Colts a Super Bowl contender? And remember, the Bengals were just in the Super Bowl.
And that is exactly how the question is worded, ladies and gentlemen. We put the Bengals factoid in parenthesis.
I went no.
Wow.
Because to me, they're still missing too many pieces. They don't have receivers. They don't have an edge rusher. And this helps, but this doesn't make them a contender. I don't even know if it gets them into the playoffs right now.
I'm going to vote yes for 2 reasons. 3, actually. 1, I think they're going to add receivers.
But, okay. It's not really the question that was asked.
Well, but I mean, you have to, it's late March. We all have to kind of hedge our bet one way or the other. I mean, come on, we still have free agency and we're going to have a draft in 5 weeks. So, I mean, we're all in our minds trying to calculate how much better can a certain team get here in the next 6 weeks before essentially they're damn near done acquiring talent. I think that this was the first big step for the Colts this offseason was figuring out quarterback, unloading Wentz, making sure that somebody else took the salary cap hit, and finding the best guy we could find. And it was probably between Cousins or Ryan, and they got Matt Ryan. That's the best. You got to say, if we sat down after the Super Bowl and said the best the Colts could do at quarterback, realistically, we would have said probably Jimmy G, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins.
Absolutely.
They got Matt Ryan. That's pretty damn good, all things considered. So, all right, they got quarterbacks figured out now, and they know the cap ramifications, how many picks they added, lost, the whole deal. Now they can go out and get other parts. Secondly, they're in the AFC South. That's big. I mean, come on now.
It is.
I mean, they only have one team to go through to win the division.
Nope, you're absolutely right.
And most every other division, they have more than that. So that's key. And I also think, and this is me going a little crazy, but I mean, if you're the Colts, we're starting to see midseason trades. I could see the Colts missing like a pass rusher and pulling a Von Miller type deal during the year in which they go and they get somebody.
Here's my only problems is that Matt Ryan has trouble moving. I mean, from the bed to the couch in the morning, let alone under center on Sunday. He was hit and sacked a ton. Now, I know this line's better. I get it. He doesn't move very well. There are people that think the arm's not as good as it once was. I'm not going to make any guesses there. I'm not a quarterback expert. But a guy that doesn't move, they don't have receivers yet, even if they get them. I don't think they're as good as Tennessee. I don't even know if they're a playoff team.
Okay. I think they're a playoff team. Although the point that you made about we're going to have to hold the Titans and Colts and remember that they play the AFC West this year. Now, the same goes for the AFC West. I mean, 2 of their 4 non-division games are the Titans and the Colts, which aren't easy, and they're all, goodness knows, all going to beat each other up.
Well, that becomes what this is going to be. I mean, to me, this screams Buffalo 1 seed.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Just like talking about screaming Green Bay as a 1 seed, this does scream this is the year that the Super Bowl goes through Orchard Park.
How can it not? I mean, Deshaun now with Cleveland. You got Burrow and Watson and Lamar and whatever Pittsburgh comes up with, which is still going to be a football team that'll win 6, 7, 8 games.
Well, Tomlin hasn't had a losing season yet, so until he does. Now, I will say they saddled him with Trubisky now. I mean, they are making it harder and harder for him to keep that streak alive. But he's a stubborn guy.
He's stubborn, and the division just keeps getting better around him.
So that's our poll question. Does Matt Ryan make the Colts a Super Bowl contender?
Or did Matt Ryan just make the Buffalo Bills the Super Bowl favorite even stronger?
Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, floridasportsnetwork.com or at FL Sports Network and vote accordingly. A lot of deals have been made in the NHL over the last handful of days. How many of those deals have made those teams? You know, the Florida Panthers, Stanley Cup contenders. Alexis Downie covers the NHL. She will join us next. Pat Kirwan, top of the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Michigan State grad. No, I actually think, Dad, I think you could have 3 teams from the West. I don't think North runner-up's any guarantee. You could have 3 from the West. You could have 2 from the South. I don't think that's. I disagree with you. You could have 1 from the North. Why? I mean, why are you so sure the North runner-up gets in? I don't. The East runner-up could get in. The division's bad. I don't. I think you're off with that.
How many teams from the North made it last year? The Bengals. Year before, 3 made it. Year to year league, baby.
I don't know why people keep on calling the Dolphins the fish. Is that
really?
Why? Why are we calling them the fish?
Huh. This is a shock to you.
They're not fish.
Thank you.
Fish, fins. I mean,
But they're not. But they're not. A dolphin is.
I know.
It's not a fish.
I
The
understand.
Mammal.
dolphin that's a fish is a mahi-mahi.
Yes.
I'm going to back. I'm not doing this to pick on you.
No. But I'm just saying, people have called. I've
Fish
seen
fans-
it for.
I know when fish fans, I think Marlins.
Yes. Yes.
Fish fans is Marlins to me.
Oh, all right.
We got the
Fair
fish
enough.
and we got the fins
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
and the caliente.
Okay. Just okay. What's that Cuban breakfast thing again?
Cafecito.
Okay. Call Alexis, will you?
Yeah, I got you.
Very passionate over there.
I like it. Oh, what do we got Alexis coming up here.
We do.
She works with our buddy.
Brad Evans.
Yeah.
Yeah, live on the line.
Michigan State.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Poll question is up. Colts acquiring Matt Ryan. Does it make them Super Bowl contenders? Define contenders however you want. We will ask that question of Pat Kirwan coming up at the top of the hour. Alexis Downie is kind enough to join us. She covers the NHL for Stadium, also contributes to Live on the Line, which is a weekday sports show on the Bally Sports Network, coast to coast. You can follow Alexis on Twitter at Alexis Downie _ Alexis Downie, DOWNIE _. Alexis, it's David and Mark. Thanks for making time for us, particularly at this hour. How are you?
I'm doing well. I mean, it's a little early in Chicago, but doing good this morning. How are you guys?
We are great. All right. Favorite deal that a team made in the 100 or so hours leading up to and before the deadline? Your favorite team deal, go.
Oh, good question. I mean, I feel like yesterday ended up being a lot busier than maybe anticipated. And I think it's kind of easy for me to say because I'm a fan of him, but getting to see Marc-Andre Fleury go to a team that he could possibly contend on in the Minnesota Wild, I think was a great way to start off yesterday morning. Just really happy for him, and sounds like his family is going to be staying in Chicago, so there won't be too much movement and for his kids and everything. So I think it's a great fit for Minnesota to have, obviously, a Vezina Trophy winner. So it's into the playoffs, a team that's very competitive.
They already have a number one goalie in their estimation. Do you see any problems between the pipes for Minnesota, or was this, in essence, keeping him away from Colorado or a few other teams?
That's a good question. I wondered about that too. Having Cam Talbot already, and he hasn't necessarily been so consistent this season. Up until recently, he's been playing really well recently. But I think that it's not. I think Minnesota knew what they were doing, and especially with their general manager Bill Guerin. He's a smart guy, and he's got a history with Fleury back in Pittsburgh. So I think that they know the importance of having two solid goaltenders into the postseason. And, Fleury after this season, we could see where he ends up. Maybe he's not staying in Minnesota, but I think that they knew what they were doing. I don't foresee any problems necessarily between the two, because from everything I've heard, Fleury's just such a great guy to work with anyway. So I can imagine that between Talbot and him, that they could end up being a really solid duo.
Mark, I'm going to throw this out there. This could be the Wings in the late 90s when Osgood was the regular season goalie and Mike Vernon was the one that won the cup. It would not shock me if Talbot gets most of the action the rest of the regular season, but Fleury ends up being the guy come May. We're talking the NHL with Alexis Downie from Stadium, and she joins us here on Miller and Moulton. How much do you think Claude Giroux has left in the tank, and is this the acquisition that really does make the Florida Panthers capable of getting out of that division, i.e. beating Tampa Bay?
I think that one of the biggest things for Giroux, is he wanted to go and be a part of the Panthers. He's very motivated to win a Stanley Cup, to be a part of a winning culture, and he's really excited to be there. So I think that in itself, just having that mindset going there is a good thing, obviously. I've rode high on the Panthers for the last year. I have high hopes for them. I think that they've got all the pieces they need now, just a matter of executing, and they've done so well this season. I think that an acquisition like him and the leadership he brings it really could be that piece for them. And I hope it is, honestly, because they're just so much fun to watch.
Well, Alexis, what were you more impressed with? Florida putting together some leadership and some playoff experience, or Tampa putting a third line together at the trade deadline? Because they both added so much depth to each team. Which did a better job?
I was surprised that Tampa was able to do so well, because we obviously know the salary cap situation that they're in, and they were really able to move around and find that third line. Brandon Hagel is a really great acquisition for them. I've watched him here in Chicago this season, and he's played on the special teams unit. He's just really versatile, and he's blossomed a lot. So I think Tampa getting him is a really great get, especially because he's so young, and they don't have to worry too much about his salary and everything. So I think in a way that Tampa may have done a better job, because they were able to work, with Hagel, and they got Riley Nash back, and I kind of see what they did. They know what they're doing. So I think maybe in this case the Lightning, but both teams did really well compared to a lot of the other teams around the NHL.
Well, you took me to where I wanted to go. We're talking with Alexis Downie, who covers the NHL for Stadium and is also part of the Bally Sports weekday afternoon show Live on the Line. You can follow Alexis on Twitter at @AlexisDowney_. Name me a team or two in which you were left wanting, in which you want to call into a local sports show and get on their general manager who did not get the job done.
I think there's two that stick out for me. The Edmonton Oilers being one of them. Ken Holland's a smart guy, and he's got obviously the two of the most elite guys, in the NHL, and he just didn't really help them out. I felt like the Oilers were very quiet. They They didn't do anything about, their goalie situation. They were quiet, and I was kind of surprised by that with the situation they're in. I mean, they've been winning games recently, but they know that they need to take advantage of the situation they're in for the postseason, and I don't feel like they did. Another team, the New York Islanders, they were also super quiet yesterday. I mean, they did re-sign Cal Clutterbuck and Zach Parise, but they just have been such a disappointment this year. I really thought that they would make more moves and everything as well.
Does this change your mind at all? Did the Fleury trade change your mind at all about the West? Is it still the Avs conference, or did Minnesota close the gap enough where it's a toss-up?
Well, I think it's still the Avs. I mean, they're just unstoppable. But after them, I think it's a toss-up. Really, whatever team can get that. And Minnesota they're competitive. I mean, I think that they will have a shot, but it's going to be a really tall task to beat Colorado. But we do know that Colorado hasn't had the best luck in the postseason, so we'll see about that.
Only lost 6 home games, but as you mentioned, Alexis, they've had better rosters than they've had playoff success here in the last couple of years. They should have gone deeper. And again, going through Vegas was tough. Alexis, thanks for making time for us, particularly at this hour. Safe travels and continued success.
Thank you so much, guys.
And most importantly, Alexis, go green.
Go white. I love that.
Alexis Downie, a proud Spartan, which Mark caught. NHL, she covers for Stadium. Also, Bally Sports does a weekday gambling show.
With our buddy Brad Evans.
Yes, he's the main host for it. Live on the Line is what it's called. She contributes to it regularly. Alexis Downie, you can follow her on Twitter, Alexis Downie _ DOWNIE _ Alexis Downie. I don't think anybody did anything out west to close the gap on Colorado. And the East, I thought just about everybody loaded up.
Well, I love what the Panthers did. I mean, when you haven't had success in the playoffs, it is the one sport that a locker room can change things. And they went out and got leaders. They got guys who wore letters on their chest. And I think it's a big deal for Florida to have people with experience. We'll see, because they still have to play the best goalie in the league. And as you said, when you can beat him 4 times, good luck with that.
I mean, has he been on the losing end of the handshake line? I mean, was he their goalie 3 years ago? I mean, I don't know if he's been on the losing end of a handshake line yet, Vasilevsky. That's all I'm saying. And then I'll say it again about Florida. Bobrovsky has been able to steal series. I mean, ask the Lightning, actually. Was Vasilevsky their goalie when they got swept? I think he was he?
Yeah, I believe he was.
Okay. So it's been 3 years since they've been on the losing end of the handshake line. And Bobrovsky was with Columbus then, and he was terrific in that series. And the Lightning systematically fell apart in that series. But I don't know if their goaltending can win 16 games. Like, I think that their goaltending is good enough. First round series, they play Boston, they play Washington. One of the 2 wild cards is who they would play right now. If by chance they end up playing Toronto, their goaltending is good enough, I believe, to win against teams like that. But to be brutally honest, like, if Florida got the Rangers, I mean, they got one of the 3 best goalies in the world. I mean, the Lightning are one of the 3 best teams in the league and the best goalie in the world. It's going to be hard. To me, this reminds me of the old days in the 80s in which Calgary couldn't get past Edmonton. You wonder if Florida's Calgary.
Here's the thing that I would say is just a touch different from the Panthers standpoint, is that if the referees they call the game so vastly different than they did before, there are far more power plays. I think Florida might be the best 5-on-5 team in the conference. The longer the game's played 5-on-5, I give the Panthers against anybody. You start getting to special teams, like your Rangers especially, David.
Right.
Put them on the power play. My goodness gracious, they're almost 1-3 right now on the power play.
Right.
Tampa on the power play is lethal.
That's how Tampa Bay beat Florida last year. Florida just couldn't stay out of the box. 5-on-5, Florida outplayed them. in that 6-game series.
So that's the key for the Panthers. It's not, yes, it's goaltending, but it's goaltending and special teams. Keep this game 5-on-5 as long as possible. And I know for some of you out there, we get you and we go hockey. I know a lot of you in the Twitch chat room love it. I got a comment on Facebook that says, you lose me on hockey. Hey, one segment out of 4 hours, the trade deadline happened. We have the 2 of the 5 best teams in the game in the state of Florida right now.
And we are the Florida Sports Network, so.
And I don't know what to tell you. We're both hockey guys, so this is going to happen. And not to mention, Tampa's part of our marketplace. The Fort Myers-Naples area is one of the 3 best non-NHL hockey markets in the country.
And the other 2 are located within an hour or so of an NHL team.
Yeah, one's Providence, the other one's Milwaukee.
Right. So there you have it. Little NHL talk. Trade deadline now is come and gone. Playoffs start in a little less than a month, right around then. So not much left. What are we down to, about 15 games?
Yeah, and nothing really to pay attention to in the East because the playoffs are set other than playoff positioning. There's still a couple of spots they're fighting for in the West, a bunch of bad teams trying to get to that last playoff spot. But really in the East right now, the 8 teams are determined. We just don't know in what order that will peg out.
And who thinks that home ice means anything
Nothing.
in the NHL anymore?
Nothing.
I mean, there are some that believe maybe in a game 7, last line change, that sort of deal. Home teams have a little better record in game 7s than they do lately in the other home games, but
the last change is important to match your D up against their top forward line, but teams have figured out how to get around that as well now.
wow, gentleman wants us to talk F1.
Well, that we'll get that in the bonus hour.
Wow, when is that?
I have no idea when you're doing
Noon?
that. I don't know when you're doing that show, David. I'm not a part of it.
Miller and Moulton. Our poll question, hey, we stick to the basics, either food or football. That's basically the focus of our poll questions.
I dared my daughter. I was going to throw her new nickname on there. But right now, David, the No's are winning with the Matt Ryan Super Bowl contender question. It's another 2/3.
Really?
1/3, basically. 36-63 right now to the No's.
All right. I'm telling you, I think it'll grow as the day goes on. I actually think that it'll grow on people, the idea of contender. I mean, you remember Tennessee had the number 1 seed last year. I mean, being in a weaker division, it can really work to your advantage.
We'll find out what Pat Kirwan thinks about our poll question and all things going on in the National Football League on the other side. 2 segments, 30 minutes with Pat Kirwan coming up on the other side.
What do you mean what's going on in the NFL? Is there anything going on in the NFL?
It's just a boring little league, David.
Yeah, it is. But it seems to be pretty popular. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf.
where golfers go to get better.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Just ran into AJ. Shook his hand. He didn't see me. And I walked up behind him, tapped him on the shoulder. I said, "Hey, David Moulton." All right. It was AJ Lurie. I go, "Nice to meet you." I go, "Everything going okay?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "Why?" I go, "Well, we've been here 5 months. It's the first time I've seen you." I said, "I feel as, we feel as if we're in the witness protection program here." I go, "Nobody talks to us. Nobody wants us here." I go, "We're doing our show and leaving." I go, just making sure we're not going to, what did I say to him? I go, "Just making sure my car is not going to be blown up one morning when I leave." He goes, "Nah, man, it's fine." Okay.
No, it's not.
10 to 13 years. Isn't he like 33? What does he think he is, Tom Brady?
What if that just becomes a regular thing now? Everyone just Brady's their career.
Well, it's not that easy.
It's not. But, I mean, with the millions of dollars that these athletes are spending on,
They've got to be able to play.
The one thing I will say, though, is the rule changes will help the quarterbacks play longer. They're taking much less of a physical pounding.
Yes.
Much less.
100%.
You think you can get the Wolf on this week? You tried her? She's been doing sidelines all the
I have.
games.
I have.
No dice.
She's been basically saying I'm too busy.
Damn. Oh, I got to call Pat.
She's West, isn't she? She's Gonzaga.
Oh, she'll go with Duke. Yeah, she's in Frisco.
Yeah.
Unless it was Wednesday.
Where's
Unless it
the
was tomorrow?
I'm sure she's traveling
New
tomorrow.
Orleans. New Orleans or San Antonio? New Orleans.
Probably next week then. So I'll reach out to Vern after the show today and see which day the rest of the week he wants to set it up for.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, the final hour on this Tuesday. Whether you're in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice, we thank you very much for listening. For those of you in the 239, it is the bonus hour, and it's always the bonus hour when Pat Kirwan is kind enough to join us. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains. It's weekday afternoons from 3 to 7 with his co-host Jim Miller. And Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, and a dozen locations in between Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, how you been? How was your weekend?
Oh, the weekend was great, and the weather was beautiful, and I took a little time off from football, but back on track with everything. Just really finishing up this morning on my big concern always is how many one-year deals we have, because it impacts next year's free agency. And this is an example. Yesterday morning when I woke up, there were 120 one-year deals, and now there's 153. And so when you look at how many guys are left that you think are going to get signed, and I have about 110, most of them are getting one-year deals. So we're going to take about 250 guys and jam them right into next year's free agency class, along with the guys that don't sign their franchise tenders and people that had expiring contracts and restricted guys that just took the tag and played it out. So once again, the NFL this year might even be better than next year might be better than this year. So get ready to watch 750. Those are the things that set the market price. What running back or what receiver or what any position right now is going to say, I need more than a one. Sure, you're not getting it. And the other thing I'm dealing with, trying to get enough information on the inside world, is what's going on with Baker. And the consensus is that and you guys already know this, but for your listeners, that they're going to have to pay probably half of the $18 million to move him. Otherwise, they're going to pay the whole thing. So a lot of guys are expecting that he's going to be available for about $9 million, and the team will eat the rest of it.
Pat, I want to go backwards quickly before we go forward, because you talked about the one-year deals and how it affects next year. How many more or less, what was the difference in free agents, if you know this? And I hate asking questions like this because I'm not sure you've got it, but the difference in free agents heading into this season versus the number of free agents heading into last season. Did we have a big increase? Because as you're talking about the one-year deals, if that's the case, we're going to have yet another increase next year.
Yeah. So we used to average around 500 free agents out of the basically 2,000 people that had a contract one way or the other. Because everyone thinks, well, it's 53 times 32. Not really, because there's injury reserve, and those guys are on contracts that could be expiring as well. So what we did a year or 2 years ago is we jumped in the 650 range. Then we were into the 750 range, and then we have, and that was before we started having all the terminations, which happens a lot because of cap casualties. Next year, I think we'll be around 800 guys. Think about that for a minute. 800 of 2,000 will be free, but they're not really free. They're free, but there's no one buying that many guys, so they end up taking short-term deals all over the place. It is growing, Mark. And if you looked at it over like 8 years ago, it's probably up 300. And that's because people started doing one-year deals. And agents started saying, well, we'll take the one, and then we'll get right back in free agency. To me, getting back in free agency next year is going to be a disaster for the players.
What are the Falcons doing? How could they get less for Matt Ryan, considering the fact they're taking the cap hit, than what the Colts got for Wentz? And I'm talking a lot less. I mean, if you're taking the 40 plus million cap hit, shouldn't the Colts have to pay you for that? And they only had to pay you with a 3rd round pick? I mean, am I
That was the
missing
best
something
offer
here?
they had. Well, you know how that works, David. That's the best offer they had. They were looking for the best offer possible. And so if no one's offering more than a 3, you'll take the 3. And everyone knows that you have to, once people know you have to move a guy, they're going to start nickel and diming you down. I know of one other team that was interested, but they weren't offering more than that. So that's the best offer they got, which tells you what 31 teams. Look, those guys out, they know most of the time when you're in a pinch. And they also know there's no collusion in the NFL, but because I'm competing against you. We both want Matt Ryan. I'm not telling you what I'm giving them. But they're sitting back trying to collect the best offers possible and then make the right decision. And that's the best they could get. And why? It's because his age, length of his contract, he only has 2 years left. It's a great deal. $52 million for 2 years for Matt Ryan for a 3rd. That's awesome. But it's a legitimate question. The answer is no one gave more. And we can't sit here and say, no, you know what? You have to give me more. Well, that's all I'm giving you. And by the way, if you don't do it today, I might go out and get somebody else named Garoppolo. So I think they take what they can when they can. And it'll be interesting. If that's what they got for Matt Ryan, what do you think you're going to get on a 1-year deal for Baker Mayfield? A 6?
That's what we talked about before the show. That's the exact pick that we used before the show, Pat. But I want to go to Jimmy G first. You know, how sure are we that San Francisco is going to move him? With all the, Indianapolis was the destination. There aren't many destinations left. I know there are teams that need quarterbacks. I get it. But, Pat, is Jimmy G a Niner next year?
I hope so. I've been on the show a lot in the last month, and I've never said once that they should trade him. He's $24 million. You got a quarterback behind him who's going to apparently be the starter someday. He's not ready. He's not as good as Jimmy. And you have a team that they think they can get to the Super Bowl. They ain't getting to the Super Bowl with the youngster. And the team loves Jimmy. So dumb teams move guys that veterans like and force the other guys on the team. I think if I was them, the best thing that happened to them is that he's still there. And hopefully they will not move him. If they do, I'll have something to say that won't be very pretty about their chances to get somewhere. They're not going anywhere with the kid.
Cannot reiterate what Pat said enough in terms of how much that veteran team really likes Garoppolo. Play for him hard. He has played through a lot of injuries despite missing a lot of time as well, and they know that in that room. He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, and he joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers. All right, couple of other quarterback moves yesterday. So the Falcons bring in Mariota, the Saints bring in Winston. Your thoughts on both?
Winston was always going there if they never got Deshaun. Everyone knew it. Jameis knew it. I don't care what people think. I just look at the contract. The contract always tells me what the club really thinks. 2-year deal, not a lot of money, more than a backup, less than a real starter. They're going to try to find one in the draft and in a year try to get him on the field. Now, Jameis could explode, but why would he explode now? He hasn't exploded yet in this league. He did throw for 5,000 yards once, but so that's what their situation is. It's a stopgap guy, and that should be viewed that way. And Mariota will be the same thing. Stopgap guy. So there's Atlanta. Now, if Jimmy G was for sale, don't you think the Saints or the Falcons would have gone and got Jimmy G to get through the year while they're training a draft pick? Maybe he wasn't available, Mark. So those guys are just stopgap guys now. That's what happens in this world when the perception of who you are changes from starter to utility guy to backup to whatever you want to call them. But the contracts tell us what they really think of these guys.
Let's go to Baker. I had thought a while back that he would be perfect for Detroit. I think the mentality is perfect for the Lions. Now there's some talk there. I guess in order for that to happen, they would have to move Goff. And since David's usually the one that does this, Since Seattle didn't want Baker, Seattle still needs a quarterback. Goff beat Seattle a fair share of times. Is there any chance that Detroit could get Baker and send Goff out to Pete?
I don't think they think enough of Baker to get rid of Goff. I think if they force Cleveland to pay, which is what I said to start the show, half of the money, and now you got Baker on a 1-year deal for $9 million. I think you have them both, and you let them fight it out, and you put a little pressure on Goff to play better, or this kid's coming off the bench. I think Baker has been portrayed in a lousy way. And the comments that Chris Moulton had made that weren't his, they were given to him, they need an adult in the room, has been devastating to the perception of that guy. Before those comments, what he was perceived as was a competitive, tough guy who struggled to stay in the pocket, but fought and battled and had a 12-11 record against his own division. Still has the rookie record for touchdowns, but no one wants to paint the picture of the good. They want to always tell you about the bad, and then they want to tell you that the commercials had something to do with it. Come on. They shoot those commercials in June.
In one day, by the way.
Of course. And it's like now if you want to hate the guy, you can build a case against anybody. So they built one, and he struggles with the perception of who he is and his off the field life. He's a hard-working guy, so he's worth for $9 million in the world we're in today. If Detroit was smart enough to go get him and force Cleveland to pay half of it and let him go out there and compete. He's never had to compete. He was handed the job in Cleveland. I don't blame him for that. They just were excited to do it. So, yeah, we all know John Dorsey's there. John's a good friend of mine. I wouldn't bug him about this. They know how to get him if they want him, but I would have both of them on the team. And then with an eye on the future, why would I send Goff out? Maybe Baker's not as good as Goff. Who knows? But for that price, I would keep both of them.
Pat, we have about a minute till we have to take a hard break. And so just answer our poll question for us. Our question is the Colts acquisition of Matt Ryan make them a Super Bowl contender? And then we put in parenthesis, remember, the Bengals just went to the Super Bowl.
No, I don't think it makes them a Super Bowl contender. I love Matt, and I think Matt will do his part, and he will function very nicely, as well as they've had with the Phillip Rivers situation. But no, the AFC, which we've talked about a ton, I love that people are starting to pick it up. We only talked about it on this show 3 weeks ago when we pointed out how much cap space the AFC had, and they went and pillaged the NFC. The AFC is loaded. Let me ask you where the Colts would land up if they were in the AFC West.
Well, tell you this, we will hold that, all right, because we're coming up on a hard break. We will hold that and answer it, and then also get your thoughts on Deshaun ending up in Cleveland, because the last time we talked, he was heading to the NFC South. More with Pat Kirwan after this. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pat, as we have you on during break, the very first question on here was, did you catch any fish this weekend?
Yes, we did a nice job. We didn't even have to go that far. We were out 28 miles, and we always like to fish our way out to 60 miles, and we stayed there all day, which was great. And I think we had like 16 or 17 grouper keepers.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and my cousin Jerry was with me, and my buddy that lives here at West Bay. And those two guys are fishing fools. And when I have guys out that like to fish, that know what they're doing, that don't even like to talk, they just like to fish, it was fun. Those guys had a great time. So both of them caught a fish on the way down the first drop. So
oh, that's awesome.
Was complete 8 minutes into the month. So,
I haven't caught a keeper grouper in so long I couldn't even tell you. Every time we go out, we get shorts.
Yeah, there was plenty of shorts. We just kept throwing them back. But I put one live bait down. I got a blue runner really kind of early, and I put him right back down and got into it. Probably was a Goliath. It just was running all over the place, and I couldn't get him up. But he got into a hole or something. So, but those guys got a chance to fight that little sucker for a while. So that was fun.
That is
a good
fun.
Time. And the best part of this, like, I love going fishing, but we didn't go out till 9:00. Steve, my partner, had to drive a piling over in Goodland before we left. And then we were done and back in, and fish cleaned and everything else by 3:45, 4 o'clock.
Oh, that's an unbelievable day.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm usually coming in at 7 and
right,
feeling like, who wants to clean the boat? But we were done, boat clean, fish done, the whole shooting match. And it was flat calm, Mark. There wasn't a wave out there, not a ripple. And so we made fast time going out. And I said to you guys, you better understand something. This is not how it usually is.
Not in the winter, man.
No.
That's summer fishing when you get that flat stuff.
Yep. And no storm on the way back in.
Right.
Usually when you turn to come home, you're just looking at a black sky.
You're just looking, you're trying to find a gap. Where's the gap I can shoot through?
That's it. So it worked out great for entertaining those guys.
That's fantastic.
Yep. Couldn't ask for more. Otherwise, how's life treating you? How'd you do in your golf tournament? You never told me.
We won our flight, and then they had to jam the shootout into a closest to the pin contest, so we finished fourth in the shootout. But no, it was good week. Made a little money.
Good. No, I know you long enough to know that you love the whole tournament at your place.
I love that the member guest invitation was my favorite week of the year. I love that stuff because it's not just golf. It's can you keep your liver at that level for 4 days and still play good golf?
There it is. It's hard on the fourth day is for the guys who don't drink or the guys who know how to drink.
Oh, we were laughing so hard because we had like a 3-hour gap because of the weather. And everybody that won their flights, they went home, they're rested. Me and my partner sat in the bar and drank for 3 hours. I'm like, you guys are a bunch of chicken blanks. Do this the right way, for crying out loud.
If we don't win in the tournament, we're going to win in the bar.
You're darn right.
Take it easy.
Darn right.
Good for you. Oh, that's nice. I can never play in these tournaments because they're on weekdays.
Yeah, they're all on. You just had yours over the weekend.
Yeah, and there's no chance I'm playing in something that involves Thursday and Friday.
May have to get you back down in June. There's a chance we're having our Miller and Moulton golf tournament June 11th at West Bay. I'm working with Danny right now.
Let me just see something here because I'm going to be down here right around there.
Well, that's a Saturday, obviously. So,
yeah, no, June 15th.
Father's Day weekend's the next weekend.
No, I won't be. I know it. I'm gonna be back down here though, but it won't be that weekend. I'm gonna be down here June 19th. That's the day I come back down here.
That's
I
Father's
told
Day.
David, my grandson Brady is playing with Ryan Brindley's team in a couple of tournaments.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they got to be Ryan's son and Brady got to be good friends. They played in a Christmas thing together, and they had played against
15.
each other a couple times in Pittsburgh and stuff. So now Brady's season's over, so he's jumping on a plane and playing with him in Minneapolis, and then he's playing with him in Austin, Texas. A couple things.
All right,
Here we go.
We're coming back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan from NFL Radio. Moving the Chains is the show weekday afternoons, 3 to 7. You can follow Pat on Twitter. And Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, and many points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. All right, we have a big topic to get to, but first, Pat, you just wanted to finish up, Matt Ryan, Colts, quarterbacks. We were talking about it. I mean, he may only be about the 9th best quarterback in the conference, but, they might have had the 11th best one last year.
I like him a lot, and I think his team is not bad. Before we worry about Super Bowl, let's worry about the Tennessee Titans and dealing with those guys. I don't think Jacksonville is going to be the threat yet, and I think they got to deal with just within their own division. But those quarterbacks in that AFC now, and then as I said, AFC West. If they were in the AFC West with those 4 teams, where would you put the Colts?
4th?
Yeah, maybe 5th. So I get one little thing to you guys, very interesting. Yesterday morning, I talked to, on purpose, I had this little question the guy's willing to answer. A coach, a GM, and a retired coach. And I asked them this, and I made sure the retired coach was on top of his game. I said, rank the quarterbacks in the draft, because we're getting close to the end, to David's point about who's available and where's the quarterback shuffle going to end. Well, it's getting ready to end here, Mayfield probably. But it was really interesting to talk to the 3 guys. So just rank them. I don't need explanations. Just rank the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft. And then I took a look at how they all came out. And here's the final result when you average where everyone was. Pickett was number 1 for everyone. Number 2 was Ritter. Number 3 was Willis. Number 4 was Corral. And number 5 was Howell. Pickett, Ritter, Willis, Corral, Howell. How many guys will go in the first round? They all said 3.
How many starters do you see out of those 3? Any?
In rookie season?
Yeah.
None.
I'm with you there. Well, Pat, since we talked last on Friday, this quarterback was traded to Cleveland, and it's changed everything. Just your thoughts on the Deshaun Watson trade, on the new deal they gave him, and everything about this for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, there's always a ripple effect to everything, and I'm glad he's there for this. They have to prepare that he may not play for a year. It'll probably be less than that, but you can't be naive about it. The pressure that's going to be applied by a lot of different groups, this will put that pressure by the dog lovers to shame on a Mike Vick deal. So if he doesn't play for a year, that's unfortunate, but it might be that. The contract is disturbing to a lot of people that we have a fully guaranteed deal. That didn't really sit well with the 2 guys I talked to about it. And then you have to think about the ripple effect, because that's the world I live in. So what does it mean to Lamar in Baltimore and to the Ravens, the starters? There's an interesting one. Lamar is negotiating his own deal. Why wouldn't he think? He's been an MVP. He's been to the Pro Bowl a couple of times. He's on a $23 million option year. He's held off doing a long-term deal because he didn't like the money he was hearing. Now the money that's gone to Rodgers and to Deshaun Watson, you're starting to wonder signability of Lamar. That's the first thing I thought of was Lamar. So when it comes all the way back around to Cleveland, they got a nice-looking team. It's a fact that I talked to, and I think I don't know who I talked to about it with you guys, but they never had to offer players. They never did offer players. And everyone thought that Chubb and Ward were in the deal, and they were never in the deal. And so they got away with getting a guy for draft picks. So in that sense, it worked out nicely for Cleveland. Their football team is intact, and they got a nice-looking football team. So I'm happy for them. And another guy, now he didn't have to leave from the NFC, but another guy the AFC was able to keep in their conference, which just loads up the quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, now Matt Ryan. There's a lot of quarterbacks coming into this conference. As one guy said to me, David, that 4:00 game on CBS is going to be pretty good every Sunday.
Well, here's the irony quickly behind the curtain. CBS has lobbied the NFL for 20 years to break up the whole Fox has the NFC, CBS has the AFC, because the NFC has the bigger market teams and they get better ratings. And so for 20 years, they've lobbied the NFL. Just now, beginning next year officially with the new TV deal, a network is not going to be locked in to a respective conference. I expect all of this year, Sean McManus, president of CBS Sports, to be calling up Roger Goodell going, hey, we were just kidding. We were just kidding. Okay, we want to keep all those quarterbacks for us.
Well, you know, it is funny. Be careful what you wish for. That's your message here. But there's so many damn good quarterbacks in the AFC. Take one every week. You only can take one. So we'll be happy to take care of the rest of them, whoever they are.
Well, the
Sunday,
in all seriousness, though, the Sunday night and Monday night football schedules are going to be a lot sexier because with all these marquee quarterbacks, they can give a primetime game. Maybe even Amazon benefits and has better Thursday games than we all expect. Pat, very quickly, since you do a national show, you have done now 3 shows since the Baker's probably not going to be the quarterback and 2 shows since Deshaun is, in fact, the Browns quarterback. What has been the reaction negatively, if at all, towards the Browns acquiring Deshaun?
I'm glad you asked because it's been very interesting. Most of the Browns fans that are around the country and certainly in Cleveland did not want Deshaun. Most of them did not want Deshaun. Most of them that called the show, I can't control who calls. You get a lot of callers. They felt, and it was interesting, they've never had a lot of great success in the city, but the sentiment was Baker deserves the last year of this deal. And I would say things like, don't you think Deshaun's going to be gone if you don't do it now? Doesn't matter. That kid came in here. He's got a winning record in our division, which how many quarterbacks has done it? They like his style. Like the tenacity of Baker is what he portrays as his image is kind of in line with the Cleveland tough guys in the stands. And most of them did not want to do that. Now, it's kind of interesting to hear that. I think Deshaun will win them over, but that was by far the strongest sentiment. Not as many guys calling in saying, "Well, we lucky we got Deshaun." They were fighting it the whole time.
Any negativity though about Deshaun specifically?
Well, I expect nationally on the road is going to be brutal for him. At home will be brutal. It could cause some fights outside the stadium. I think you're going to see organized, large protest groups protesting him and everything that happened or didn't happen or allegedly happened. So it's not going to be pretty. And sooner or later, his play is going to win over the Browns fans because winning cures all. But those people are not going to stop protesting. And it's been made very clear to me by a number of groups that have called our show and what their intentions are. So it's going to have a lot of friction tied to it.
He's Pat Kirwan, weekday afternoons. He co-hosts Moving the Chains with Jim Miller on NFL Radio. And Pat joins us twice a week during the season, courtesy of Pinchers, from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, as always, thanks so much for your time. And what do you say we do it Friday?
That would be a good idea. Can we do 8 o'clock?
Done.
Thank you. See you at 8 o'clock Friday, boys.
Thanks, Pat.
Be good. Hit them straight.
Pat Kirwan joining us once again here on Miller and Moulton. That could be a poll question later on. How many games do we think Deshaun's going to get suspended? I mean, you can go from 0 to a year.
Yeah, I think it's 6.
I think it's 6, and on appeal, it'll be down to 4. But no matter what the suspension is, it will be controversial. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening, Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Drops the sledgehammer.
Oh, say the anniversary.
What?
Is that the anniversary?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had Reggie Miller on the show?
We've not.
I bet he'd be a good guest to talk about FGCU and like what he remembers from that run.
Who was the this isn't the one you liked from NBC. She just went to Tampa.
No.
Just curious.
No. The one I think is a rock star is the Wink 3 o'clock anchor.
Do you guys remember the song Cars by Gary Newman?
Cars?
Yeah,
By who?
Yes.
Gary Newman.
Yeah.
When you first heard that song, did you like it at first or no?
No.
No.
I knew it. Because we were listening to that song the other day, me and my friends, and we were saying
It's terrible.
it sounds like alien music.
It's terrible. It's terrible then. It's terrible now.
No, it's a bop.
Klecko, here's the problem. Okay. With They can't keep Baker from a cap standpoint. I don't believe. First off, what if Deshaun's not suspended? You'd have Deshaun's cap charge at the start of the year, Jacoby Brissett's cap charge, and then Baker's nearly $19 million. No, they're done with Baker. It's just a matter of, are they going to release him or are they going to trade him for a 6th or 7th?
The irony of trading a number 1 overall pick for a 6th round pick. That's pretty amazing.
Boy, oh boy, a lot of people in Michigan having to do a lot of defending Izzo right now. A lot of people like me that are like, okay,
Are you saying it's time?
it's been time for 4 years.
Well, I'm just saying that's our.
I've said it's been time for years.
Well, I mean, they took him to the Final Four 3 years ago.
I know.
Who is the heir to Tom Izzo?
It's a great question.
Wasn't he grooming?
Stevenson was the guy who was grooming, but there's a people. Who does my cousin want? This Fanati guy who's an assistant. And Cody's a lot more in tune with the pro.
Don't you think
Valentine.
Don't you think Izzo's going to be able to make that call?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Drew Valentine?
Yes.
From Marquette? No, or Murray State? No.
Couple of things very quickly. DC, I'll be shocked if the Browns get a 4th round pick. Shocked.
At Loyola,
that's right.
And yeah, Spitz, you got to remember, though, what happened between Ben Roethlisberger and now Robert Kraft happened.
30 seconds.
I mean, the NFL's in an interesting situation here.
$15. All right.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$22 minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll head to Indianapolis at the top of our bonus hour. One of the big stories in sports yesterday, Matt Ryan traded to the Colts. Atlanta gets just a 3rd round pick back, and they have to absorb the $40+ million cap hit, biggest in the history of the league. How about the quarterback draft class from what year was it now? Was it the 2018 class? Baker went 1.
right?
Darnold went 3.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen goes 7, I believe, to Buffalo.
And Rosen went
10 to Miami.
No, to
No,
Arizona.
Arizona, I'm sorry. And then Lamar goes 32. Ozzie Newsome's last 1st round pick.
Right.
Traded back into the 1st round and said to the Ravens, here's my parting gift for you, Lamar.
And that could be the only starter of the group as we enter the season.
Allen and
I'm sorry,
Lamar.
Allen and Lamar.
So
yeah.
here we are, we're in year 5, and technically 4 of the 5 had their option years picked up. But Rosen's, for all intents and
He's
purposes,
a bust.
out of the league, even though he's hanging around. Darnold's no longer with the team that drafted him.
No.
Baker is about to no longer be with the team
Right.
that drafted him.
But you have a budding superstar in Josh Allen.
Yeah, and
And Lamar's been an MVP.
correct. But once again, and if we're going to render a verdict, we like to do, bust or whatever. I mean, Baker's not a bust, but 5 years later, and really 4 years later, he ain't their quarterback.
No, but it's a total 500 proposition. And not even. You got 2 that are starting, 2 that are done. And I mean, Darnold could be starting for Charlotte, but does anybody really think Sam Darnold's going to be anything more than a serviceable quarterback? And I still think while Baker would be thumbs angling down, we still don't have a verdict on Baker yet. He could get it to 5. He could get it to better than 500.
First overall pick of the draft doesn't make it to year 5 as quarterback with the team that drafted him. Third overall pick of the draft doesn't make it to year 4 with the team that drafted him. 10th overall pick of the draft doesn't make it to year 2 with the team that drafted him. Josh Allen's got the long-term contract. Could go down as one of the, if not the greatest 7th overall pick of the draft. And then you got Lamar, and it will be fascinating to see. I mean, you got to figure the Ravens will play the franchise tag game with him, but I mean, they can't get him under contract, and they've been trying for a year.
Before we go more quarterbacks, do you want to make your own breaking news sounder up, or do we want to let Felipe just do it?
Well, I don't like his make-believe breaking news sounder. Dun, 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 dun.
Playoff Lenny is back with the Bucs, a 3-year, $21 million deal. They're putting the band back together in Tampa Bay.
Man,
I don't know where they're getting all the money from.
Thank you. I pay really close attention to this whole salary cap thing and how it works and moving money around and dates. And I thought they had $7.34.
I love it.
I do too.
Thomas just gets whatever he wants.
Well, yes. And this just in, he should. A, he's Tom Brady. And B, without him, the Bucs go back to being the Bucs.
I mean, I know there's June 1 assignments, and that's the one thing these cap sites don't have on them. But even with that, like, it's showing the Bucs $3 million over the cap right now.
Right. Which
I know it's June 1 assignments, right. But where are they coming up with the 7 for Lenny?
I don't know. Don't know. And what does it mean for anyone else? When Tom was in that owner's suite, okay, he said, listen, you tell them, you bring everybody back you possibly can, and it means you're going to be shelling out a lot of signing bonus money. I'm just so you know. And from the size of the crowd here and what have you, I think you can afford it. Isn't that right, Mr. Glazer? By the way, how much money have I made you? A, for last year, and B, for coming back this year. Hey, speaking of which, did you ever get anybody from the Bucs to come back to you? Because I read something over the weekend. They're trying to lock everybody into 2-year deals.
No, my tickets are gone.
Okay.
I could have gotten a priority list for tickets, which I did not even fill out. I mean, I made a little bit of money off it. It's a pain in the butt. It's work.
Right.
And
it was an investment for you.
Yes.
Right. You were not doing it.
I'll still probably give it a shot here. I mean, I filled out the priority thing. I've not heard back from them.
Okay.
So we'll see.
But 2-year deals. Little surprised they didn't lock everybody into multi-year deals the first time.
I think that's hysterical. I've never heard of a team doing that before.
Oh, a multi-year thing?
For season tickets?
Yeah.
For club seats, I've seen it. For suites, I've seen it. I've never seen it for tickets. Ever. But do what you can do, because if he's not there next year, you're not going to sell Squidoosh.
Well, right. Hey, it's called leverage, right?
Absolutely. They've got hand. They're going to use it.
Yep.
Be careful when you use it, though, because you can leave a very negative taste in the fans' mouth, and they went 2 decades without fans.
Now, as it's being pointed out to us in our Twitch chat room that, Godwin went off of the tag and they worked out a long-term deal. I don't know how a guy getting $20 million a year on average for 3 years somehow brings the tag down, but yeah. Okay. Once again, it's NFL math. That should be a show, by the way. I mean, if Fraggle Rock and Conjunction Junction and, they had their own show for years. I mean, can't we do a weekly NFL math? Come up with a good theme music, get a little animated cartoon, some kids
Couple
involved.
of Muppets.
This
Find
week,
you an Elmo.
right? And we just go over the week's signings.
Count Dracula can do it.
I loved me Count Dracula. I did. Not a sucker for all of them, but I loved me some Count Dracula. And not the cereal, by the way, just the character.
Well, wasn't that Count Chocula?
Well, yeah, but
and it was as chocolatey as chocolate gets.
My goodness.
I mean, you put that you'd get that in the 1 out of 6 every once in a while. Mom bought the mini boxes.
Yeah.
And literally the best part about that cereal was when you were done, you
milk.
had a bowl full of chocolate milk.
Correct. The cereal was awful, though. Awful. Your face keeps trying to indicate you're not willing to go that far.
I'm not.
Wow. That was horrendous.
It wasn't as good as because you had the Rice Krispies, and then they tried the Cocoa Crisps. The Cocoa Crisp also gave you that chocolate milk,
right?
But a crunchier cereal.
Uh-huh.
So I would rank that ahead of the Count Chocula. Then they tried the whole blueberry thing too.
Oh, I know, and the strawberry, and I didn't like either.
And all of a sudden, we've got monster fights in a cereal box.
And you try telling, no, please don't buy these anymore. Can we go back to give me Rice Krispies, even a Cheerios. I can slice up bananas, put it in the Cheerios. It'll be healthy for me. Really. Healthiest thing I eat all day. I'm going to school. I'm getting a square piece of pizza and a cheese stick.
You didn't do any of the fruit cereals either. Like the Trix probably bothered you too. Multiple fruit colors in there. Those were, Trix are for kids, David.
Right. No, advertising worked on me, Mark. It did. Anyway, back to NFL math. Cameron Brate, Mike Evans, they reworked their deals. Glazer had to give money up front. Okay.
Tampa will pay like New Orleans is paying. It's coming. Like Atlanta is paying. There's going to be some serious dead money down the road, but they are kicking this can as far down the road as they can.
Well, and if I was not just Tampa, if I was any team, I would do it because beginning next year, the cap is going to go places that were thought to be, we can't get there. I mean, it's 208.2 this year. I'm telling you, it'll be 240 next year if it's a dime. First year of the new TV deal. And then by 2025, I think the cap could be 300 million. I mean, it's going to explode here. It's why Deshaun's contract in 2 years, people are not going to bat an eyelash about it. Now, what to me has not been talked about enough is Kirk Cousins and Deshaun Watson are the two game changer players, believe it or not, in NFL business in the last 10 years. Because Kirk Cousins has been able to play the game so that his contracts have been fully guaranteed since the end of his Washington tenure. Franchise tag.
And now what, 4 contracts in Minnesota?
Or something.
Or 4 years of.
Right. But every year guaranteed.
Correct.
3-year deal, then renegotiate, and then now renegotiate again. Every year of his contract has been guaranteed. I mean, so Kirk Cousins has played like the last 8 years. Every single year under contract has been fully guaranteed. And now here's Deshaun getting essentially a baseball contract. We've talked about this. When was the NFL player going to look at the league and go, you gotta be kidding me? No. NBA, it's fully guaranteed. All right. Major League Baseball, over 95% of the contracts are guaranteed. Hockey, the minute you sign them, it's on the books. I mean, you can try when you release them to break it up over multi-years, but
It may be a quarterback only phenomenon, though.
okay.
Because I don't know how many other players could get a fully guaranteed contract. I do think you are onto something with quarterbacks saying, yeah, that doesn't work for me.
The whole thing. Well, how much of this are we going to guarantee? Every penny?
Every single penny.
I mean, like Cincinnati, if Joe Burrow said, by the way, the number's 50, it's 10 for $500 million, and it's fully guaranteed.
Or even 80% guaranteed, which would be unheard. I mean, it would. If you think of a $500 million contract and $400 million was guaranteed,
right?
That's unheard of in NFL circles.
But let's be honest. If he said it's 10 for 500 and it's fully guaranteed, I'm going to go golfing now. You can talk it over with my agent. I appreciate the snacks. That was nice of you. You didn't have to do that. Honestly, what are they going to say? Come on. What? Like they can honestly say no. I know Mike Brown's cheap. He wants a new stadium. Joe Burrow's his ticket to a new stadium. I mean, it is. I mean, there's nothing Joe Burrow can't ask for that Mike Brown has to give him.
This does get you to one of the things we talked about in the last year, is that at any point during the next deal with the NFL, does the quarterback move right out of the salary cap?
Problem is they just signed this 10, 11-year deal with the networks, but they also signed a 10-year CBA. Like, in order for the league to take the quarterback off the books, so
they'd have
to
renegotiate.
Exactly. And I think the players would be like, well, this is just fine, because there's a lot of things that we didn't get last time that we'd love to be able to get if you want to open this sucker back up. But what if the Joe Burrows of the world go, and by the way, you got to take care of my guy, Jamar over here. And the left tackle of mine that's what I'm wondering. Can this be more than a quarterback thing?
It could be, but if I were a quarterback, I wouldn't be wanting a whole lot of guaranteed contracts, because if they start playing poorly, I need those guys replaced to make me look good. That's all good. On got to take care of my guy. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Not really. You don't have to. Just take care of me.
Fair enough. Miller and Moulton. If you've missed any part of the show, go to millerandmoulton.com. Alexis Downie joined us last hour. We just did a half an hour with Pat Kirwan. The bonus hour is coming up. We will head to Indianapolis, talk to Derek Schultz about the big sports story from yesterday. We'll also look back, and not just today was the day when, but a noteworthy anniversary that we'll get into in greater detail in about 25 minutes' time. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It sounds like a car door being left open.
It was.
Tough to imagine a $1 billion contract. I mean, if you paid somebody,
I think we'll see one in our lifetime, Logic Man.
whew, boy,
Probably be in the EPL.
oh, I wasn't even thinking about that.
A player making $1 billion though?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe like when I'm 35.
Yeah.
God.
Oh my
That
God.
long from now?
But yeah, okay, mid 2030s is what you're saying.
I mean, that's a lot.
And I mean, look,
of
like,
money.
what was I just reading? What's Bradley Beal going to sign for? $425? That's the max extension?
No.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal?
Well, he's going to get the
He's going to get the
Supermax.
super max extension. It's like 5. I thought it's stupid.
Yeah, he's not worth that money.
Well,
I agree.
Wait to see the deal Harden signs for.
I think Harden's worth that money. I don't think Beal is worth that money.
The last couple of years of James Harden's deal, he's making in the 60 million range.
Well,
He can
62.
sign a 5-year, $241 million contract. That's 80 a year.
No, 5 for 240. That's 48 a year.
Or 48. I'm sorry, 48 a year. Wow, where'd my math go? I just switched the 4 and the 2 around there, David. I had a little dyslexia. But that's basically a $50 million contract for Bradley Beal.
Oh, I thought you were.
Okay. By the way, the Harden contract, all right, he's getting for next year because he opted in to his option year. He'll make 47 and change next year. Then he'll sign a 4-year, $233 million deal. That's 58 and a quarter a year on average. James Harden over the next 5 years after this one is going to make $280 million. That's 56 a year on average.
The final leg of that contract might.
Might.
No, but I mean, it's if you're in the 50s now, take that out 10 years, it'll happen.
The Bonilla deal where money is deferred. Well, look at the Scherzer deal. Scherzer signed the 7 for 210 deal with the Nats. He only got half up front. They're going to owe him $105 million deferred.
I mean, you want to walk up to Hart and say, "Can I have 500,000, please?" And he'd go, "Sure."
If you're a woman, very attractive and half naked, then they'll probably say yes.
Yeah, Spitz, there's no doubt. I mean, $58 million a year. I don't know if he's going to average much more than 58 games.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday, the 22nd of March. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Florida Sports Network. In about 40 minutes time, good, bad, and ugly, what's on tap today was the day when, and a noteworthy anniversary that we will bring up about 20 minutes from now. Derek Schultz is kind enough to join us once again. He's with the ISC Sports Network and writes for the Indianapolis Star. You can follow him on Twitter at Schultz975, Schultz975. Derek, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Great to be back on the show with you.
All right. Well, I want to get you right with our poll question today. We asked today, does Matt Ryan make the Colts a Super Bowl contender? What do you think?
I think the answer to that is no. Now, that doesn't mean that it wasn't the right decision given the options that were available. That also doesn't mean that Matt Ryan doesn't make the Colts better, because I believe both of those things are true. I just don't think when you look at the landscape of the AFC right now, particularly what's in the AFC West, I don't think you can seriously look at this Colts team still lacking at wide receiver, still unproven at pass rush, still without a left tackle, and without real impact difference makers and impact positions as a real Super Bowl threat. I think they can win the division. I think they can get back to the playoffs. And we know there's a level of randomness and just, you know, overall single elimination playoff, right? You're seeing it right now in the NCAA tournament. All you have to do is be better for that one day. But to actually call them a true contender to me, with a 37-year-old who's been declining, is a little bit of a stretch.
Derek, how much money? I mean, you know, you got to give Ballard a lot of credit in that he's pulled off the Wentz and the Ryan deals, and he has managed to have the Eagles and the Falcons absorb all of the dead cap hit. Yeah, he's lost draft picks, but he hasn't had to take on the serious money. How much money do the Colts have left to be able to address some of the needs that you touched on?
After the Ryan deal, and they're going to take on about $50 million. He's got 2 years left in his deal. So you're right. The dead cap hit all goes to Atlanta. That's how it works. But they obviously, you know, Ryan is going to make a significant amount of money. I think he'll be the 10th highest paid quarterback in the league going into 2022. Same thing for next year, barring some other changes. It'll probably go down a little bit of the list there. But he's about, you know, a middle tier quarterback contract. But they'll have about $20 million in salary cap space still available. Now, they have some decisions looming. They've never been big players in free agency and big spenders like you see Jacksonville go out and buy a bunch of guys every single year. That's never really been the Colts' philosophy. But they do have potentially a Quentin Nelson extension, which is going to cost $20+ million a year. He'll be the highest paid guard and sign a historic contract if and when they extend him. And they've said that they're going to extend him. So that salary cap space sounds good as of right now, but that shrinks pretty quickly considering what the Colts have coming up down the pike here.
Well, Derek, the problem is, as you just mentioned, they don't like to spend a lot of money in free agency, but they've given up draft picks. So in order to fill the holes that you talked about, free agency, really, it's not whether or not it's an option. It's who in free agency they're going to get, right?
Yeah, and, you know, they were kind of hamstrung, guys, because how are you going to sign, you know, Robert Woods or, you know, how are you going to sign a receiver or a left tackle when for the last 2 weeks those guys have no idea who they're going to be blocking for or who they're going to be catching passes from. So it really kind of hamstrung the Colts, I think, early on in free agency, even if they were in on some of these guys, where I think a lot of these players were looking at their situation and saying, well, I don't even know who the quarterback's going to be, so why would I sign with you guys? I think the Ryan move should allow some more dominoes to fall. But as far as like adding true impact players, that's really difficult to do, especially in this stage of free agency. So I think they're looking towards the draft. Wide receiver wise, guys, you found a lot of value here in the second, third, and fourth rounds the last couple of years. And I think that's what the Colts are planning on. In fact, that first pick that they have at 42, which was originally Washington's pick, that was a pick swap in the Carson Wentz deal. I would be shocked if that's not a wide receiver. I would think that that's absolutely their first pick is going to be there because they know they need some major help in that wide receiver room.
Talking Colts with Derek Schultz, Indianapolis Star, ISC Sports Network, and he's kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. And who knows, the Colts have been aggressive in the draft before. Do they take their second and third round picks and trade up because maybe there's the receiver that they think they can get their hands on in the late 20s and they think he can make an impact right away? But Derek, the Colts have to be happy with the fact that A, they upgraded at quarterback, and B, somebody like an Odell Beckham Jr. on Twitter would go, I really like this move. I think Matt Ryan's going to play really well there. I think they're going to do a little something there because he's a free agent wide receiver. And it seems as if the Colts are now a more desirable option than they were 48 hours ago.
Yeah, and I think you could say that for anybody that is out there. But again, guys, just when it comes to the big names in free agency, that's never really been their MO. The last time the Colts really jumped into that pool, if you remember, it's hard to believe now, 7 years ago. In 2014, they reached the AFC Championship game and got absolutely pounded by New England. And they went into free agency that year and went crazy. They brought in Frank Gore. They spent a bunch of money on Andre Johnson. They brought in Trent Cole. And all of those guys, outside of Gore, Gore ended up being a nice, steady player. Obviously not the player that he was in San Francisco, but still a nice, steady, reliable guy. All of those guys ended up being washed, especially Johnson. Johnson was a complete disaster. He played, he lasted the season. I think he had like 400 receiving yards, and then he ended up retiring. So, that was a different regime, a different brain trust. This one hasn't really ever done that. But I still think at least now that you have a quarterback, you can put the other pieces together in place. But I think it's not going to be one thing or the other. It's not just going to be draft or just going to be free agency. I think it's going to be kind of a mix of both. But I still think the Colts are dealing with a lot of the B and C list guys at this point in free agency, as opposed to the true impact difference maker A guys, because all of those guys are off the board now. This, free agency has been going on for 10 days.
Are there enough B and C's in your estimation to win the division? Because if they're not a contender, the first thing you got to do is get past Tennessee. Is there enough B and C's out there to get past the Titans?
I think Ryan alone in the existing core of his team is good enough it's a 2-team division, right? Houston's in full rebuild. They're at least a year away, if not several years away. Jacksonville's kind of the same boat. The guys that they spent money on are a lot of B and C guys, and I'm not sure that they got a lot better, particularly at wide receivers, swapping out who they swapped out for. So it's a 2-team division, you think. And I think they were right there at the end of the year. They were just a game out of the division, in fact, with 2 weeks to go before they imploded, and then give Tennessee credit for taking the reins of the division. But I think the upgrade at quarterback alone makes it a 50-50 proposition that they could be an AFC South champion. So yes, I do think that some of these B-tier, C-tier guys are going to be good enough to potentially push them over the top, because you still have a good core. It's not a great core, but a good core with Taylor and Darius Leonard and Kenny Moore and some of the pieces that they have on the offensive line.
Derek, I'm just curious, what's the attitude of the fan base? It's known as a nice part of the country, understanding fans, willing to be patient. Well, the Colts haven't really done anything since 2014. They've won some games, made the playoffs, but I don't have to tell you, they haven't been a big time contender now for 8 years. Is the fan base starting to get a little impatient, or is everybody just willing to see how this plays out?
Yeah, there's a lot of impatience and frustration because if you look before those 8 years, if you look at what they did from 2002 through 14, essentially they rolled out of bed every single year, won 11, 12 games, and won the division. They were in the playoffs essentially every one of those years outside of the Peyton Manning neck surgery year when they went 2-14, and then they ended up drafting Andrew Luck, and then they were right back into the playoffs again. So there was a standard set here. I know that only resulted in one championship. I kind of find it funny when people are like, well, it was only one. Yeah, ask the fans in Buffalo if they would have liked to have won one.
Right.
But, like it's viewed as some sort of a disappointment, but they were constantly in contention, of course, with Peyton Manning and Edwin James and Marvin Harrison and Mike Green, all those Hall of Fame level players that they ended up having. I think it's a lot like, I'll actually make a comparison in our own market. I know no one outside of a 30-mile radius of Indianapolis cares about the Pacers. The Colts the last 8 years have been the Pacers. They're not good. They're not bad. They're just kind of there. And that's a really frustrating place to be when you're just kind of stuck in the middle. And that's what they've been. Last year's team, 9-8. Okay. 2020, they were 11-5 and one and done in the playoffs. They were 7-9 the year before that. It's okay, fine. Like they haven't been great, but they haven't done anything that really mattered. So I think what you want to guard against is that no one wants to be the Miami Dolphins. Nobody wants to go 7-9 for 20 straight years, which is essentially what the Dolphins have done post Marino. And I think that's what you worry about with the Colts, because if you don't fix that quarterback situation and you just kind of keep chugging along, fans are going to be like, hey, what is this? Where are we going here? Even just winning the AFC South, which is the bare minimum expectation, they haven't done that since 2014. So hopefully there is still a lot of trust with this brass, with Chris Ballard, and less to an extent. Frank Reich takes a little bit more barbs from the fan base, but I do think that mostly he is well liked as the head coach. But yeah, that patience is running out with Reich about to enter year 5 and Ballard about to enter year 6.
Boy, Derek, you hit a lot of listeners right where they live when you made that Dolphins analogy, but you are right on the money. Derek, as always, thanks for your time. Once again, continued success with the ISC Sports Network and with the Indianapolis Star. Thanks again.
Appreciate it, guys. Anytime.
Derek Schultz, you can follow him on Twitter, Schultz975. That's Schultz with a Z on the end, 97.5. Derek Schultz joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Oh, yeah.
Punching the Dolphin fan right in the mouth there, wasn't he? Poor Felipe's in a separate conversation with Derek over there because he's so bothered by this.
Right.
Just because the truth hurts.
He blurted out an obscenity over there on the other side of the glass when Derek said it.
I just spoke to him on the phone a little bit after. I said, Derek, that hurt, man. I'm from Miami. He's like, am I wrong, though? And I'm like, no, you're not.
And like he said, with the fans in Buffalo, for one, Cleveland the same way. Some places, one's not enough. In others, Cubs won 108 years. One, okay.
One would be fine.
Live with that. When we come back, today is an anniversary of something that had never taken place before, and quite frankly, we'll wonder if it will ever take place again.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So we don't know if we're going to just do telehealth from the house. And I said to her, I go, hey, you can go to Jacksonville next week. As far as I'm concerned, you could shut this whole fucking thing down. Whatever you got to do. So what I am doing, because she can lock the door, okay, which I understand if somebody wants to, but lunch hour. So I'm literally going to, I think, 2 times a day for the rest of the week, be sitting in her parking lot. Hour or so around lunch, and then right near the end of her day, just be sitting there.
Jesus.
But I will say, she played me the messages. Okay. And there's no doubt he made it seem as if he's going to do something.
And you can't,
And she told me, she said, this is the threshold for the police. He didn't make a specific threat. Okay. But he made a threat. And she said, I know they can't arrest him. And if I send them over there, okay,
right,
it will only,
make matters worse.
Guaranteed he will come after me. Whereas right now, it could just be him at his absolute worst. Guy hadn't been around for a year. Called her out of the blue. Wanted to see her. And she's like, hey, no longer with them. I'm doing my own thing. And then I'm shutting it down. So I'm not taking any new clients. Mm-hmm. And then he starts leaving a series of threatening messages.
Should she at least call them to document it?
She has. She's called everyone possible.
Okay.
Called their insurance company. Called the line of work that she's in. They have a place and a board. I mean, phone calls upon phone calls. All documented. But she's afraid she's going to turn into Teresa Sievers. And they were friends. So it's, that's, well, she's always worried about that since it happened. So I just got a message going, Pat's not going to be here the rest of the week. I'm freaking out. I need you here. Lunch hour. I'm like, yeah, sure. I can sit in the parking lot, listen to satellite radio.
Mark, are you all caught up on Winning Time?
No, I don't have HBO. I only watched it when I was getting my free HBO. I watched both episodes. Only been one more.
Oh, the
Winning Time.
Yeah, Pat Riley was in the recent episode.
He was in it?
No.
No.
They introduced
the depiction of Pat Riley.
Oh, okay. Well,
as the video guy, right? He's like the video coach or whatever.
Or no, he's
intern or some.
He's trying to sign up to be a color commentator.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, with Chick Hearn.
Yes, with Chick. Yes.
The drinking that they portray in the front office is unbelievable. I would have been so good as a vice president of sales and marketing in the 70s.
Yeah.
That was my decade.
Hazy office full of cigar smoke.
Oh, smoking lung darts, drinking scotch by 2.
Lung darts. I love it. All right, we're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
20 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, along with some final thoughts, all coming up. Speaking of today was the day when, it was 9 years ago today that Dunk City happened. Friday night in Philadelphia. Little 2:15 matchup against Georgetown. 24-22, I think, at the half. Of
Riveting game.
Brutal first half, but hey, the little engine that could was up 2. And so if you were watching it, you're like, well, it's ugly, but hey, they're winning. And 3 minutes into the second half, I believe the game's tied at 31. And both teams have had a little run, and both coaches have used timeouts. And then, well, it happened. And, a couple interesting things just to throw out there. We knew it at the time. I mean, we did. We tried to say it. We did say it. I wrote it in multiple columns. We tried to say, listen, what happened here this weekend in Philadelphia? I mean, let's all live long, healthy, great lives. There's a really good chance this doesn't happen again.
In fact, there's almost an absolute chance that it is so improbable, even though the fact that we've had Oral Roberts and St. Peter's do it as 15s, to have the same 15 do it seems highly unlikely.
Well, and we even went so far as to say, take the seeding away from them. I mean, getting to the Sweet 16. Illinois hasn't been to the Sweet 16 since 2005. Illinois. I mean, I remember writing the column talking about and doing the research and listing all of the teams in like the last 20 years who had not made a Sweet 16. And you were shocked at how many Power 5 schools, never mind anybody else on the landscape. But I know I've thought this in recent years. Pat Chambers came on the show last week when he was named head coach, and he said, there's no reason we can't be the Gonzaga of the South. Some of us have been saying that for a while and have basically been mocked. Okay. But so much happened so quickly. And they all knew. I mean, if, Joe Dooley stepped into it, in which he realized he's like, wow, what in the world could we do that could ever measure up? Nothing.
And Joe Dooley's run here was really good.
5 straight 20-win seasons. Went to 2 tournaments, played in 4 conference championship games. I mean, averaged 23 wins a year for 5 years. and a lot of the base over there were like, whatever.
They were spoiled so quickly. And I do think, since it is the bonus hour, you got to go back 9 years. The minor league hockey team here was a big deal 9 years ago. Bigger than it is now, I think. And they had instant success as well. People had trouble correlating the difference between the two and just assumed, since one got to the Sweet 16 in this early run of Division I, that it could repeat that over and over, with the naivety of not understanding fully what happened.
And also, like St. Peter's and Oral Roberts. I mean, in Oral Roberts' case, they've had a fan base for a long time. I mean, if you weren't here 9 years ago, it's difficult to accept what we're about to say as reality. But FGCU didn't have a fan base 9 years ago. I mean, I'm sorry, it didn't.
The women outdrew the men.
Yes, and half the doubleheaders, the men played first. And when the men played second, they often commented about how disheartening it was when they were running out onto the floor and they had the 30-minute warm-up before the game, and they were watching over 1,000 people say, all right, see, I'm done. I watched the women's game. I'm not here for the men. Believe me, from the coach right on through the star players. Oh, they all noticed. They took note. They were not happy about it. And the only thing they could do to combat it was to try and win. And Mark, how many people even found out, heard about FGCU literally during the 21-2 second half run against Georgetown?
More than you could ever imagine. And it was always the bone of contention on this show. It was the thing that would get you really irked, because at that time, John Cassio was our producer, and John and I would just look at you and say, David, 4 miles off of campus, nobody even knows who they are, let alone cares. And that bothered you because you were in that bubble.
Well, but it bothered me kind of like the way it bothered Felipe when Derek Schultz made the Dolphins analogy. It bothered me because, yeah, I cared, but I didn't dispute that you weren't right. At first I did. Okay, at first, kind of like you when you left the Blades,
Yes.
and I said some things. But, once you got an hour and a half outside of the bubble, you kind of went, you're right. And it was the same way with me. But, I mean, to give you an idea, when they made the NCAA tournament, they went to Macon and played in the conference championship. The game was not broadcast on local radio. We had done, ironically, the tournament the year before, but when they won the game that put them in the NCAA tournament, I did the game on streaming only.
And why the tournament was on radio the year before was because David and I were convinced, David more so than me. One, David and I sold it. We were doing sales for the company. Two, we went because the women were going to win.
Right.
And packaged the men in as part of the deal.
You'll get at least one extra game. They're going to lose first round. They're playing a 20-win team. They're below 500. They're going to lose. Trust us. But you'll get an extra
But we'll
game.
get 4 games out of it. It made
Right.
the package easier to sell. We could make a little more money. And I believe, if memory serves me right, the station had to pay the NCAA rights, because I don't think the school paid a dime. You and I had to make sure
Right.
that we sold enough to
Right.
pay the NCAA. And I think it was $500 each for men and women for the broadcast rights for the school. So that was the first thing that David and I had to do. And I'm not trying to, we went to sales and they said, you want to do it, you sell it.
Right. Now, I will say FGCU took care of our accommodations.
Yes.
That was part of the deal. I remember going to Ken saying, Ken, I need a little help here. Okay. And you guys are 14 and 17 after all the men. I need a little help.
Were we still part of the ASUN back then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was, and that was the beginning of the phenomenon. 9 years ago tonight, so Friday night in Philadelphia, 2:15 matchup, 13.5-point underdog against Georgetown. I remember you asking me on the air, can they win? And I said, probably not, but they'll cover. Because I knew they'd keep Georgetown there. I knew they were going to play zone.
It was the right matchup
Yes.
for it to happen.
Yes.
Georgetown didn't have a super big team.
They had Otto Porter, but they were not a great perimeter shooting team, and I knew they were going to zone them. They were going to play the same defense they did against Miami when they beat them in November. And I thought they'll keep the score down. But, I mean, Georgetown was the regular season Big East champion. The last year that the Big East was the Big East also. Before certain schools left for the ACC. But 9 years ago tonight. And what's interesting to me is, because clearly, obviously, the phenomenon happened and it came and went. And now, I don't want to say the program is where it was 9 years ago, because obviously it's not. All right. But locally, because the funny thing is nationally, all right, you and I travel, we wear our FGCU stuff. People go, hey, Dunk City. All right. Locally.
Well, and people even, I watched both women's games on television. I was stunned in the second game against Maryland, listening to the commentators praise Semesco and really understand what he has done. I was applauding ESPN going, hey, you guys did your homework. You know what's going on.
But now here we are 9. And first off, to me, it seems like 15 to 20.
It really
years.
does.
I mean, the fact that it, quote, only 9. But, what will the next 9 years be like? because now, in this way, they're back to where they were. I mean, there's no interest right now in the program unless they're making noise in March. They're back to their small base of fans. And what will the next 9 years be like?
Pat Chambers has everything to do with it. Because you better get busy in the transfer portal. You better start winning. Liberty leaves the conference the year after next, and they better be poised to start going back to winning conferences, or, well, it's just little FGCU. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
How about the fact that it was in Philly and it was the Eagles?
It was what?
In Philly and it was the Eagles. It's pretty awesome.
It didn't matter where he was. Like, I was there, but Mark was here, and it didn't matter where you were. It was a phenomenon in both places. Like, I remember coming back and saying to Mark, could you tell me what it was like? Because I feel like I missed out on, we both had been in Southwest Florida at that point about 15 years. I mean, outside 9/11 and Charlie as a hurricane, I had never heard stories of people like uniting over the Blades. The Blades had a little something when they went to the finals in back-to-back years. All right. The front page of the paper, lead story of the newscast, that sort of deal. But I mean, there's not much that unites us down here.
Mark, where did you watch the games?
Home.
But
home, because I watch games at home.
But people were
people were out everywhere.
Streets?
No, but I mean, like bars were, by the time Saturday came, bars were packed with people watching FGCU.
Because they played Friday night, Sunday night also. So it had a 48-hour buildup.
Right. What bars were hot? Still what? Ford's? Miller's?
I don't even know if
I don't think it was Ford's.
I don't even know if Ford's was open.
Oh, really?
Bo Campers had their second place, which was going. I think Bo Camper's second place was open then. Like in Bonita, like I lived in Bonita then, so like the Center Bar was a big deal,
right?
The Mercado was up and running.
Yeah,
it had, I think, just.
But I would imagine, what was I can't even think of the name of the bar that's now not there anymore, across from Blue Sushi. That's where everybody was hanging at the school. That was the big bar for campus kids. Not Miller. It's not even there anymore. Like, I couldn't even tell you.
But it's in Gulf. It was in Gulf Coast Town Center.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, wasn't it the place that had the burger special?
Yes. It's exactly the place it is.
It was a good special, too.
I was in 7th grade when that happened.
Do you think it's the reason why you're at FGCU?
One of the reasons, yeah. I do.
I mean, you had never heard of the school until that.
Well, my mom did.
Thank you, Bar Louie. Thank you.
That's it, Bar Louie. That was the spot.
My mom did because she works at a high school and she would do the college tours for students. So they'd always pass by FGCU, and she always spoke highly of FGCU, even before Dunk City. She said it was a really nice campus, relatively close, but far enough that it's away from Miami. And
Johnny Mac, you're right. Big Al's. That's another one where Sushi Thai is now. But yeah, it was everywhere. I mean, it's the same thing. There were just less places. People were just out.
Mhm.
Like, your apartment complex didn't exist.
oh no, a lot of things.
But I mean,
didn't exist.
that mall,
Yeah.
you know,
a lot did not exist.
But like, they're estimating that St. Peter's is getting $100 million worth of value, publicity from this Sweet 16 run. And what St. Peter's, the attention they're getting nationally is nothing.
I mean, the Today Show was here, for crying out
And
loud.
Good Morning America at the same time.
Because it never happened. A 15 had never gone to
Right.
the Sweet 16. Now
And
we've had it
this is-
happen 3
And
times.
this is the second year in a row that it's happened.
Right.
San Diego State.
It's less special. Ours was
Right?
special.
Yeah. Who had a first-round draft pick on the team.
And plus, we were cooler than St. Peter's. I mean, the Peacocks, blah, blah, whatever. We're the
Well,
Eagles. Our
It was
colors
the
are cool.
dunk. It was the dunking.
And the
though.
dunking.
It was the dunk.
yeah.
The other thing it was a bunch of little things that came together. The tournament was devoid of upsets. All day Thursday, there wasn't like one upset. There wasn't an upset Friday afternoon. You know who hates FGCU? LaSalle. LaSalle was a 13 seed that year. They played Friday night, Sunday night. They won both games and went to the Sweet 16 and were ignored in Philadelphia because FGCU was there.
Wow.
I just got a message. Day before the tourney started in 2013, I drove by the campus bookstore to buy a T-shirt, figuring they would never make the tourney again. Pulled up right in front. I was the only one at the store. By Monday morning, you couldn't get near campus.
Wow. All right. We're coming back. I like this FGCU talk, though.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network." It is interesting during that little interlude there, all of the FGCU stories that we've received, whether it be text line, Twitch chat room, texts to the both of us individually. Down in these parts, it is one of the, if you were in these parts 9 years ago, there's a good chance you remember where you were when. But 9 years ago tonight, FGCU beat Georgetown, and the phenomenon was underway.
There is no doubt. Like we said during the break, the Today Show and Good Morning America were both on campus simultaneously. Think about that.
We also won an ESPY.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
You
plane,
made a great point, David, during the break, that what St. Peter's is doing right now. And what was the number you said that you heard?
Darren Ravel yesterday said that St. Peter's, the Peacocks, Jersey City, New Jersey, are receiving $100 million worth of value for this Sweet 16 run. And what the attention St. Peter's is getting nationally is nothing compared to what FGCU got.
Nothing.
I mean, as you mentioned, the Today Show and Good Morning America were on campus. The chartered flight left Philly at midnight. It landed at 3. It took an hour to get all the equipment and what have you and get you over to Alico Arena, where most of us were parked. and students were going to put their stuff away and what have you. I remember walking at 4 a.m. to my car with Comer. And Comer saw the lights and said, do these guys know I have to be to class at 8:30? And I said, Brett, I think you could not show up for class. And he said, you don't know my teacher.
Stop me. I could be off on this, but didn't they also carry part of their pep rally on ESPN?
ESPN showed their first practice. I believe it
Think
was
about
Tuesday,
that.
live, 6:00. PTI went from PTI, it went straight to the 6:00 FGCU pep rally / practice. Right. And really it was a practice, but Andy opened up the doors, Andy Enfield, and said, if you want to come. And so thousands of students were there for practice.
Live from the illegal arena.
On ESPN, and the students chanted, and I quote, blank the Gators.
Getting ready for this.
Live on ESPN, and they didn't pull away from it.
My goodness.
Right. So, think about that in terms of St. Peter's and Oral Roberts. They didn't get this because now that we've had 3 15s do this, there only is one first. So, crazy times.
We were the coolest.
I'll let you get away with that I'll let that slide.
Well, we asked Felipe quickly, and I know we got to move on. Are you an FGCU student, soon to be graduate, because of 9 years ago tonight?
For the most part, yes.
And that is why schools invest in their athletic departments. Right there.
That's Division I. That's why you go Division I. With that being said, it's now time for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When...
Well, you just continuing this? How long do you need this segment to be? You started it 15 minutes ago, for the love of God.
You want to do your segment then? All right, I'll make it quick then. 1917, on this day, 105 years ago, the United States, ironically enough, the first nation in the world to recognize the new government of Russia. Might have been the peak, although they were our allies in a couple of world wars. 1941, Jimmy Stewart, inducted into the Army. He was the first movie star to go into the Army and then eventually serve in World War II, because, Mark, it was 3 years later on this day in 1944 that Jimmy Stewart flew his 12th combat mission, which was an attack on Berlin. Remember, we don't have troops on the ground yet. This is not an easy mission. You're flying over, you're dropping bombs. They know you're coming.
He's a bigger badass than we thought.
Exactly. So on this day in 1957, Elvis released the single All Shook Up. The Beatles, 6 years later, released their first album, Please Please Me. 1969, UCLA won their third title in a row. Lou Alcindor, his third straight Most Outstanding Player award. They beat Purdue by 20. 1972, Mark, Congress approves the Equal Rights Amendment, which has still not been ratified 50 years later. 1978, Carl Wallenda fell off that tight rope between the two hotels in San Juan, Puerto Rico, to his death. He was 73 years old. Big day in 79, March 22nd of 79.
All right.
First off, the Israeli parliament approves the peace treaty with Egypt.
I remember that being a biggie.
Well, and it's held for 43 years. Not a lot of peace treaties have held in the Middle East for 43 years. I mean, it cost Sadat his life 2 years later, but we thank him for it. Made the world a better place. Speaking of making the world a better place, on this day in 79, the NHL votes to accept 4 WHA teams: Edmonton, Winnipeg, Quebec, and Hartford. Edmonton, the only team of the 4 who hasn't moved. Quebec's in Colorado, right? Hartford's in Carolina.
Correct.
Winnipeg
Is
it went to Arizona, didn't it?
Yes.
And then they had to give him an expansion team back.
Well, no. Winnipeg's team's Atlanta.
Winnipeg went to Atlanta.
No. Atlanta went to Winnipeg. The Thrashers.
Oh, yeah, came back.
Yeah.
Right, but Winnipeg lost hockey.
Yes.
1989. Oh, excuse me, first 86. Heart, These Dreams.
God, sucks.
Yeah, it was number one.
It's so bad.
This day in 86. This day in 89, Pete Rozelle announced his retirement as NFL commissioner. And it was pre, social media and all that, but that was a biggie. That was like, whoa, where's this coming from? 29 years on the job. And those of you, maybe you're not even a hockey fan, you remember this. Clint Malarchuk suffered his near fatal injury on this night 33 years ago when a player got upended in front of the goal. He didn't have one of those,
Nobody did.
No, the mask ended at the chin.
Right.
And the player's skate slit his throat and nicked his carotid artery. And he was skating frantically off the ice, and you saw blood shooting in spurts out of his neck. Thankfully, he survived, and then goalie's mask started to go all the way down to below your Adam's
The
apple
throat
there.
protector started from that.
And 9 years ago today, FGCU beat Georgetown by 10. Ross Browner, Marcel Marceau, and Carl Malden, 3 who are no longer with us, born on this day. Bob Costas is 70 today, Mark. Andrew Lloyd Webber is 74. He's one of 16 people to have ever won the EGOT, an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, Evita, that was him. Memory and Cats, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Phantom, is Phantom his too?
I don't know. Brian Shaw's 56. Russell Maryland's 53. Phantom.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, his resume's pretty good.
It's really good.
I mean, an EGOT, an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. 16 have been able to pull off those 4.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. 74 today. Russell Maryland, 53. Sean Bradley's 50. Marcus Camby's 48. Joey Porter, 45. Josh Heupel, 44. J.J. Watt is 33. Reese Witherspoon, care to guess?
42?
46. Keegan Michael Kay is 51. All right.
Yes.
What?
Still yes.
I agree. William Shatner, care to guess?
83.
91.
Whoa!
Yeah. Now his hairpiece
is 83.
Yes, but William Shatner is 91. Matthew Modine is 63. And Smooth George Benson is 79.
I was sitting right there on the man who wrote Breezin'.
Today was the day.
I have one. This day in 2013, the Miami Heat won their 25th consecutive game.
Huh. Wow.
That's what he threw in there.
Second most in NBA history. They'd go on to win 27 in a row.
That's good.
All right.
I should have had it.
All right, there you go.
I should have had it.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Apparently, if you're in Collier County, you better start buying lottery tickets because we are just giving money away. Today, we go to Immokalee, young lady Lisbeth Venegas, who had a $20 scratcher that gave her $1 million. She chose the lump sum of $795,000. Good for you. For the bad, we go to Michigan, where in Bagley Township, a father and son, Emmanuel McMillan and son Joshua of St. Ignace, were driving in the car. They were pulled over. When police went to go to the car, they noticed large crystals floating on top of their McDonald's Coca-Cola Club. Well, those crystals were tested, and they were exactly what they thought it was. It was meth, father and son to the pokey. Finally, the ugly. We go back to Florida, where in Vero Beach, Christy Wiley is a 49-year-old teacher. She almost hit a police car around 2 a.m. When she was pulled over, her son, who was not wearing a seatbelt, was in the back seat curled up and crying. She asked if they were asked her if she'd been drinking. She said no. At that point, the son quit crying and said, "Mom, you can't lie to the police. You did drink."
Got him.
I have one of those stories.
She had a couple of vodkas, and, well, now she's got a DUI, child abuse, and a lot of other things, and I doubt she'll be teaching anytime soon. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on March the 22nd, 2022.
So my wife kept her maiden name, and there's many reasons for that. And don't need to get into it, but it's not just for the reason that you think. And so, and she never, ever uses my last name unless she runs into someone who, listens to the show, likes the show, fan of the show, that sort of deal. And so one time she was in a situation in which she thought she needed to put my last name next to her first name. And she said, "Hi, I'm, so-and-so." And my daughter, about a little bit younger than that, said, "Mommy, that's not your name." So I hear you there.
Happens to
Young
the best
lad.
of us, right?
I hear you. All right. What do we got going on tonight? Still, no NCAA tournament until Thursday. No women's tournament even until Thursday and Friday. So you got to dig for some NIT tonight.
We got NIT tonight. That is happening.
Woo!
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's
St. Bonaventure, Virginia. The folks, by the way, in St. Bonaventure are very angry. Okay, they've had to play 2 road games where, according to NIT rules, they should have hosted both games. Because if Oklahoma hosted them in a men's game when they were hosting the women's regional, specifically states in the rules you can't use the arena the same day for that purpose. They did it anyway. Now they're the better seeded team than Virginia, and they're put on the road. The folks in upstate New York are honked.
As they rightly should be with that. I mean, that actually would be money. It's a gate.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
a home gate.
Better chance to win.
Power 5 schools don't care about the NIT. Mid-majors and low majors do.
And if you win this quarterfinal, where do you go?
The Garden.
For a school like St. Bonaventure in Olean, New York, that's kind of a big deal.
All kinds of hockey tonight. Nothing with either of the Florida teams, Rangers and Devils. Oh, I'm sorry. The Lightning do play the Hurricanes. That is a playoff preview right there. That is a 7:00 tilt.
4 NBA games, the TNT double dip, Atlanta at New York at 7:30. Clippers Nuggets at 10. The other games are Golden State in Orlando. Worth a drive. See Steph and the boys, right?
Absolutely.
And Chicago's in Milwaukee.
Somehow that game is not on national television.
Really? Trey Young and then the other team's New York. That means nationally televising the Orlando Magic.
No, I was referring to the Bulls Bucks.
Oh, okay. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Rays host the Sox in spring training today. Twins host the Braves in spring training today for those that are going out. And it was pointed out to me that FGCU plays USF in baseball tonight.
The FGCU baseball team is one of the top 3 teams in the country in scoring runs. They just swept Stetson at Stetson, and I believe in the 3 games they scored almost 50 runs because they scored 40 in a doubleheader sweep.
How's the pitching at Stetson?
Well, it's usually really good. Corey Kluber, Jacob deGrom, they're pretty good at baseball there.
Is that Twins game a day game?
It is.
I don't think there are any night spring training games in Lee County this year because of, the games being thrown together. If I'm wrong about that, I thought I heard that.
But yeah, Braves and Twins, 1:00 today over at what was Hammond Stadium, CityLink Field.
Seth Everett will join us on the show tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality